Valhalla's cheating again.
I'm gonna buy Legos again because this was so fun.
No one told me this was a race.
Dude, it's not a race.
No. Oh yeah. Now, yeah. Oh,
it got interesting. Being interviewed and trying to do Lego at the same time, harder than it seems.
I'm so hyped and focused on this thing.
It's
here.
hard. It's hard to concentrate. Steve, what are you looking at? You are really intently looking at something.
I dropped the piece and I can't find it.
But I hadn't built Legos since I was a youngin', and I don't know exactly what I'm doing.
Having the problem with this one here.
No. We're gonna be here till 2 a.m.
Outstanding.
I'm actually enjoying a little bit of wine while we do this because it felt inappropriate to not have libations.
Look at this. It's kind of, I don't know what this was from.
I had a great freaking time. I chose a Lego set that was like, don't do the flowers, guys. Don't do the flowers.
Obviously, I'm the problem because I keep making the same bad decisions.
It's a great guest to have on too. In the beginning, he was kind of like, as we all were in the beginning, how should we act and stuff like that. Now he's such a fun guy to be around.
Like, you know when Lego had those like base plates they started doing for the castles and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right around the 90s, and they had like, I looked up how much those sets. That thing's worth like $450 now.
Like before, when I've done content generally, it's like quite hard to kind of get everything you need quite quickly. But having somebody who understands how to like almost trawl the internet, just really lifts things up.
So I do bonsai. I collect bonsai trees, and these trees aren't it. they're wrong. These trees they have bad form.
Y'all just still want me to finish this owl ever, do you?
The point of the show is to build while you're being interviewed.
Well, John had to have his clothes off real quick, all right?
And then he said something about like a tramp stamp or something, and the girls were like, hey, where is that? What's this all about? I'll show you mine if you show me yours. And I'm like, whoa, this is not that type of stream.
What about this? 500 crowns. Is that for real?
Hur länge har du bott I Sverige?
Too long.
Och du talar ingen svenska?
Well, I can if I have to, but I just feel like it makes me sound kind of stupid.
Du låter ta mig fan ännu dummare på engelska.
I love that scene.
That is such a good scene.
Really.
Right. Welcome. Skiff.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us. Everyone, this is Skiff. I'm going to butcher your last name again. Musarra?
No, Valhalla can say it.
Musarra.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to be horrible. Musarra. But thank you very much. And if you don't know Skiff, you guys are missing out on his awesome show, We Got This, which actually I have right here.
Nice.
I think I reached out to you. I was like, it's not on SVT anymore. I can't find it anywhere. How can I get this? And I ended up ordering the DVDs. But it's a great show. And and so
with that show.
You're an American writer, director, and actor, but you're living in Sweden and making shows in Sweden, apparently?
That's correct. Been here for like 18 years almost.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That is a long time. You're almost more Swedish than American at this point, huh?
You know what? I keep telling myself that I'm going to have to leave when I start to feel that that's true.
Let me ask you this. How often do you come back to the States?
I come back at least once a year, sometimes twice. I'm originally from Georgia. So my family is most of my family lives really close to the Georgia-Florida border. So I've got a lot of family in South Georgia, but also in North Florida as well. So when we go home, we usually go there.
Okay. My wife says, she's flying out to Sweden right now to go visit her parents and stay for a bit. But when she goes to Sweden, she feels like she's visiting home, but not quite home. She misses the States. When she comes back home, she feels like she's not home because this isn't her country. She feels like she doesn't have a home at this point anymore. And she's been here since, I think, 88.
I think that's pretty common for people who, I think it's pretty common for people who move to another country, because I think it takes a certain disconnection from the place that you come from in order to move away from your country in the first place. But at the same time, wherever it is you land, it doesn't really matter how long you're there. You're never going to feel like that's home.
Okay.
And for me, it's a little, I mean, I don't know. I guess we all have like connections to the places that we come from. I mean, I love my family, but they're batshit crazy. So after about 5 or 6 days, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go.
You're ready to move on.
Yeah, I've gotten all the fried shrimp and barbecue I can handle.
I really have so much barbecue sauce. I just can't.
That's great. That's great.
Well, without further ado, I suppose.
Yep.
David and I are both building the R2D2 Lego set.
Yes. Mine was a gift from Nick Staroff. If you guys don't recall, he visited me back in August, and then I was such a great host. He gifted me this unit, which I started on last week's stream because we had John, and John was struggling, and I didn't want him to be the only one still building.
It was so sweet.
So I started it. I'm halfway through. I still feel like I'm going to beat Valhalla, though, in the finish of this build.
Well, I would assume so. You're halfway through. That's
and I will be building a random bag of stuff because, as I told you guys before, making something out of nothing. That's kind of my jam. So I'm going to see. There's some weird pieces in here. I see remnants of something that looks like the front of an airplane. Nice. I also see another piece that looks like there may be a train involved. I really don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to roll with it and see.
You get to make up your own vehicle.
Where it goes.
I got to open up bag 6 of Valhalla. That's where I'm starting.
You're at bag 6 already?
Yeah. It was a struggle for John last week. I got through 5 bags.
Keep throwing him under the bus, poor guy. He was a great guest.
He was.
So are you going to tell people about the clip they saw earlier about why we showed that clip? And we didn't really finish. Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, my wife is Swedish. I visit Sweden about twice a year. And every time I'm there, I really try to learn the Swedish language. But I do feel like I sound really dumb trying to speak it. And then it's impossible to learn because everyone switches to English anyways. But I watched that and that resonated with me. And so I had to play that. Why did you put that in your? Were you thinking of me when you put that in your show?
No, I put that in there because that's happened to me before in real life, where you need. I think the first time it happened to me, I think it was some drunk guy on the subway.
That sounds right.
Argument with, and also it was sort of inspired a little bit by one of my good friends who's in the show, the guy who plays the author, the conspiracy theorist. His father and I had worked together. His father had worked in film and TV for a long time in Sweden. And I called him one day to ask for some advice about a documentary I was working on. He interrupted me and was like, how long have you lived in Sweden? Why are you talking to me in English? And I was like, okay, fine. I'll ask you in Swedish. And then I asked him in Swedish and he was like, Va? Which means and it's like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore.
That's great.
That's awesome. That's the thing. So your wife is Swedish, right? And that's why you ended up moving there?
Yeah, my wife is Swedish. We met back in 1998. When
Did you meet here in the States or?
Yeah, we met in New York. When we were both struggling actors. We met at an audition. Aww. We started dating, and about 6 months later, we got married in Stockholm.
Is your wife in the show?
She did have a small part in the show.
Oh, which actress was she?
Which one was it?
She worked. Actually, both. So my wife and my kids, both of my kids are in the show too. My kids are in the scene where I'm at the school and I'm talking to the class. They were all teenagers at the time.
Cute.
And my wife is one of the people working at the newspaper where the journalism storyline takes place. She works there.
Yeah.
Is she the social media director? You got to be more
like,
clickbaity.
No. That girl's probably half my age. So no.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't judge women by their ages. I can't tell. So you married after 6 months. That's interesting. People think that my wife and I got like our premarital relationship was very short as well. I think so. We started dating, I guess, in like March, and then in September of that year, I asked her to marry me. We got married the following June. But I felt like that was kind of short. But it's interesting that yours was even shorter, and it's still going strong. See, when you don't hesitate, you don't overthink it. You just pull the trigger because when you know, right?
I think there's something to that. I wish I could say that I was brave enough to just know when I knew, but honestly, we were dating. We knew we were in love. Her student visa had run out and she was going to have to go home. And it was one of those things where you have kind of a crossroads moment where I'm like, do I just let her go? Or do I do something about this? And there was something, I don't know, it was a gut feeling. And I just had this feeling it was going to work out. And I was just like, you know what? I did not say, will you marry me? I walked into the bar where she worked and I said, fuck it, let's do it. Like, that's how I proposed.
I'm a sucker for the romance stories.
The
woman that says yes to that is the right woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And she said yes, and we got married in we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this year. Back in February.
25 years. Well, congratulations. That's impressive.
That's amazing.
By the way, I am day drinking.
I love your t-shirt, David.
I got my Coors Light and I'm making my way over to the Michelob Ultra.
Not as much
as always, sporting the drinking horn full of Yingling. Because that's how we get down.
I am drinking a Swedish lager. It's called Nils Oscar.
It looks fancy.
It does.
It's pronounced good lager, but it's spelled God lager, which is kind of funny.
So one O is ooh?
Yeah.
Or not always?
Look at you trying to learn the language right now, Wendy.
Oh, you know me.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Get a girl.
Go, Wendy.
Wendy's going to be taking a vacation to Sweden in the very near future. I can feel it coming.
Airplane in here somehow.
You got an airplane in there somehow.
I feel like might be the majority of an airplane in this bag somehow.
So Yvonne says, every time I watch your live, I want to buy Lego. Then I forget. You know what? While you're watching the stream, go to whatever place you shop on and start building a wish list so you don't forget.
Yeah. By the way, I've got this much of the R2 done, and I'm now building the little chrome dome part of it.
Cool.
So Skiff, you're an actor.
Yep.
Have you? What? I guess let me back this up. What made you want to become an actor?
Ooh. It sort of happened by accident. It wasn't necessarily something I
really
wanted to do necessarily. I think, I wasn't a very good student in high school. I went through a lot of I had a sort of a bizarre traumatic childhood, so to speak, and didn't even, I dropped out of high school, got my GED, and which put me in a situation where I had to go to community college before I was able to go to any other nicer universities. And the first community college I went to was in Georgia, and I didn't have any real direction to my education. I just started taking classes that I thought were interesting. And I took a film history class, I took a drawing class, and I took an acting class. And my acting teacher, after the first class, came up to me and said, I had long hair at the time. He said, "Would you be willing to cut your hair if I put you in a play?" And I said, "Sure. Why not?" And he cast me as the lead in a stage production of The Manchurian Candidate.
Okay, that's an interesting play to
So
start
that's
off with.
that's the first acting gig I ever did. And then from that moment, it's sort of the same story that everybody tells you. Like, when the first time you step on stage in front of a live audience, you either run in horror or you become addicted to it for life, so to speak.
That's how I feel about trials. If you didn't know, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm an attorney. I
Yeah.
feel like when you're doing
still
trials,
welcome.
it's a stage production at the time you actually make it to trial. And I absolutely love it.
Dude, if I had a law degree, I'm telling you, I would be hooked on being a lawyer. Like, the whole concept
Litigation.
of like getting up in front of a group of people and trying to convince them that you're right about something. I live for that shit. Like, I'm all into that. One of the coolest things that actually happened before we got this, I had a deal with the production company to develop the series, but we didn't have a deal from a TV channel yet. And the production company got me into this competition. It was like a pitch competition where I got 8 minutes on stage to pitch what I wanted to do. And it was an international competition. It was in France, and I went up against like 16 other projects. There were like 500 submissions, and only 16 were chosen. And I got on stage and I did my thing. Long story short, we won the whole thing. And then from that moment on, the fortunes of the show kind of very quickly turned in a positive direction.
And if you guys are late arriving and you don't know what we're talking about this show called We Got This, which is, do you know if it's available on any streaming right now?
How do people watch that?
I think it's still, in America, it was available on Sundance. Sundance has a streaming channel called Sundance Now.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still there. Actually, I didn't look there. I watched
looked
it on
everywhere
SVT.
else but there.
But I think that you can rent TV series through Apple, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think you can.
I'm gonna look right now.
Okay.
I have Apple.
Well, we've got a great sales pitch for you.
Well, for sure you can buy the DVD if you still have a DVD player, folks.
I do actually, and I dusted it off to rewatch this again. And
guys,
in fact, okay, so this is the situation. So, we were watching SVT, and this popped up, and we had, and if you guys don't know anything about Sweden, that's fine, but Sweden has a king, but a prime minister, and in 1986, this gentleman, the prime minister, Olaf, I don't remember his
Olaf Palme.
Palme, yes, thank you. He was assassinated, and it turned into Sweden's sort of JFK. Who did it? Why did they do it? Was this a government conspiracy? Was this a hit job? Was this a random thing? Whatever. It kind of turned into Sweden's JFK. And so my wife and I were talking about it, and then we saw We Got This came up, and it was all about this assassination. It's a TV show about this. And we thought it was more of like a documentary thing until we actually started watching it. And it is one of the, I would say like a dramatic comedy. I don't know. It's hilarious.
Well, it's sort of a dark comedy, a satire, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It's like something you would see at Sundance or at Cannes, or in my opinion.
Well, it won the, what award did it win? I'm sorry.
It won the Sundance Film Festival, right? Or was it?
No, I don't know if it went there, but it won the year it came out. It won the European Script Award for Best TV Series in Europe.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you guys, the show is amazing. I couldn't find it on a streaming platform, so I unfortunately did have to pirate it. Don't be too upset with me. But after my pirating adventures, I was very, very happy, and it's a great show, man. It really is.
Oh my God.
I was really impressed.
I appreciate that.
Oh my God, you guys.
The trailer is linked in the description, as well as Skiff's IMDb, and you can find all the information there.
The part that you left out about Olaf Palme that really started this journey for me is that it is a little like Sweden's version of JFK, but it's actually a lot more interesting because with the JFK case, whatever, I don't believe Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK. That's another podcast, but or another streaming channel.
We talk about that.
But the thing is that technically the JFK case closed the day that Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald. Technically, right?
Yeah.
The thing with the Olof Palme case, it wasn't just that he got assassinated. They literally never solved the case. Like they never caught no one was ever caught and prosecuted. So the case remained open for 3 decades. And during that time period, the Swedish government offered a reward of 50 million Swedish crowns to anyone who could solve the case. And that was the part that was like, hold on a second. That has to be a joke, right?
Right.
And I became completely obsessed with the idea that this case was still open and that they still had an actual phone number that you could call to like leave tips about things that you thought that you would learn. And I got sucked into this whole universe of people who were actively trying to solve the case. And that's what led me to start writing a TV show about it. Cause I was like, that's fucking crazy and really, really funny.
Yeah.
So I have a clip from the show, and this is you walking with a book that you've just got from the library. And you're reading about the official version. So I'll pull this clip up real quick.
February 28th, 1986. Sweden's Prime Minister Olof Palme exits the Grand Cinema with his wife Lisbeth. 2317, Olof and Lisbeth pass Olof Fredrik Church and cross the street. Continue walking south down Sveavägen. 2321, Olof and Lisbeth pass the Decorima paint supply store.
By the way, can I just say, I love the way that you pronounce the words of these streets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is exactly how I would do it.
A man steps out of the shadows, places his hand on Olof's shoulder, and fires a shot that would change Sweden forever. He was dead before he hit the ground. A second shot missed Olof, but grazed the back of Lisbeth Palme. The shooter fled the scene by way of Tunnelgatan and ran up the stairs to Malmskillnadsgatan. After a brief chase from a witness, the killer vanished into the night, never to be seen again. That's the official version anyway. But if you believe that, you might be the dumbest person on the face of the planet.
Funny story. I was just at a bar on that street that I can't pronounce last night. And I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, fuck, I hate this street. I can't say that.
So 2 years ago, I took my son to Stockholm for the first time. We were with my wife, and this was us.
All right, February 28th, 1986. Palmer was shot right here, and the killer ran up those steps. All right, Logan, let's run. I am not running. We're going up them. Come on, Lena.
Well, my wife and I are fairly in shape.
Yeah, mind you, they run distance races, like half
Marathons.
marathons and stuff. Yeah,
Those steps are exhausting.
So there are people who do that, like that's like a common thing that people like. They go there and they try to do the getaway run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody could do it well, right? It's too hard.
You got to be in really good shape to do that run, man. Or sure, I guess you could say
adrenaline, maybe.
The adrenaline was probably pretty real.
That is probably what really drove it. So now that's the official story. What do you what do you actually think happened? Now you've done the research, you're interested in this, you write a whole TV show about it. What do you think? This is time for irresponsible conspiracy theories.
So there are 2 theories that I think are quite plausible. One is a conspiracy in the truest sense of the word, right? Multiple parties involved. But there is also an extremely plausible theory about this one particular individual who has gone largely uninvestigated for 30 years, who could have very easily been the shooter. I'm not talking about the Scandia man. I don't believe in that theory.
Wait, what is that theory?
Yeah, which one is that?
There's a theory about a guy who used to work in the building there.
Okay.
Who, it's like a really random, weird theory that some people believe in, and there's no actual evidence. The only thing that made that theory popular is that he was literally at the scene of the crime because he worked in the building.
Okay.
But it's not a very good theory.
They returned to the scene of the crime, right? That sort of thing. If
Yeah.
they're not professional hitmen, anyways.
It's not a great theory necessarily. My conspiracy theory is kind of it's sort of like the theory that's in the show, that it's a combination of like a collaboration between the US CIA as well as the South African apartheid government. A lot of people who know about the Palmer case know that Olaf Palme was like probably the most hated man in South Africa and during the apartheid regime, because he probably raised more money to topple the apartheid regime in South Africa than anybody alive at the time.
Yeah, let's step back and inform our listeners. Like Palme, he was prime minister for quite a while. I can't remember how many years.
Wait,
But
David, about 10 people have joined since we last talked about who we're talking about. So can you remind the audience, we're talking about the prime minister from,
Yeah,
Sorry.
so Prime Minister Olaf Palme was assassinated in 1986. And so our guest today, Skiff, is a actor, director, American-born, Swedish living actor, I guess, director,
writer,
producer.
The
He does it all.
star of We Got This as well, which is a show that explores the conspiracy theories regarding the assassination of Mr. Palme, Prime Minister Palme.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about. But he was prime minister for a while, and there was a lot of people in the U.S. that didn't like him either, because when he first became prime minister, he was extremely against the Vietnam War.
It was actually before he became prime minister. He was, I can't remember what his job was before he became prime minister. I think he was the education minister or something, and he invited the ambassador from North Vietnam to Stockholm, and they marched through the streets of Stockholm in solidarity with the anti-war people. That was in the late 60s, and because he did that, it caused the American reaction was actually to pulled the American ambassador out of Stockholm.
We didn't have diplomatic relations for Sweden for a couple of years, I think.
because of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
The Americans
know if-
hated
Juicy.
Yeah. And when Palme died, like some of the quotes that were delivered after Palme died from American politicians were just like, thank God he's finally dead. This guy is a piece of shit. I mean, it was like, they had like no empathy whatsoever for the fact that
I wonder
this
what
guy got
Nixon said.
assassinated. They were like, whoever that guy was, he just did the world a favor. Like, people really hated this guy.
Yeah, he didn't have friends.
Or they
But that's what
orchestrated
most reformers. I don't care if ultimately they're on the good side of history or the bad side of history, but anyone trying to reform the system doesn't make a lot of friends. So
Right. Well, it depends on what you make very slightly more interesting friends. One of the more fascinating things I learned along the way is that Olaf Palme allegedly had an extramarital affair with Shirley MacLaine.
Oh, this is so good.
Like, she wrote about it in her book. So like she she says that she had this affair with him.
He really is the JFK.
I believe that. I believe that.
She said that she was drawn to his whole like kind of intense anti-war vibe and just really turned her on, and she came to Sweden for some kind of cultural thing, and she was sitting on there's a clip that you can see on YouTube where it's like Shirley MacLaine and Olaf Palmer are being interviewed by somebody else, and you can see the look in Shirley MacLaine's eyes that, I'm sorry, it just looks like they have either already slept with each other or she cannot wait to sleep with this guy.
She wanted her some of that guy.
Yeah, she was like, I'm into this. I'm gonna hit that.
That's funny.
Okay, we're gonna pull this up.
That's funny.
We're gonna see what this looks like. This is the one you're talking about? Wait, hang on.
Så har vi också Olof Palme här. Välkommen hit.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So look at her. She's got the thigh-high boots on.
Oh, look at him.
Yeah, she does.
Pleasure having you here.
He was
And
looking at
of
her.
course, I must ask you the standard question. Have you ever been to Sweden before? Yes, I was here about 12 or 15 years ago. Very cold during your festival of lights, Santa Lucia. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's quite an impressive ceremony. I'll never
It's
forget
Christmas. It's a Christmas
I was
celebration.
afraid someone's hair might catch on fire with the candles. Have you any opinion of this country?
Oh, this is long. We're not going to watch all of this.
An hour long.
I didn't really. Yeah, this is an hour long.
Oh,
but this is them looking at each other.
She knows what she's doing.
She likes
My
his
work, I have to be
news. And
professional.
for
Got
those
that
of you
low
that
cut,
too.
low cut top on.
When
She
I
knows what
studied all
she's
the
doing.
He's just staring at him.
Yeah,
She's not even looking away.
At some point they ask her a question like what drew her to Olaf Palme's politics, and like, I mean, you can just like, she admires him so much. Like, she's just like, I'm into this guy big time.
I'm gonna have to watch this a little more. That's funny. You know, he really is then like the JFK of Sweden.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So, I have so many Swedish questions for you. My wife wants me to eventually move to Sweden with her, or at least live there for like part of the year.
Uh-huh.
But you're in Stockholm, right?
Yeah.
Or the Stockholm area.
Where's your wife from?
She's southern Sweden. You can see by my Skåne flag I have back here.
Is that different than the other one? There's like more than one Swedish flag, David?
Well, this is
Southern
like
Sweden has their own
like
flag.
the rebel flag of Sweden.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it is kind of.
I didn't know. I'm so ignorant. I didn't know that.
So southern Sweden was part of Denmark and then back and forth like a number of times. And so this is like southern Sweden. This is Skåne, and they kind of have their own little personality down there. And that's where my wife's from, just outside Helsingborg.
And they have their own unique accent, like southern.
So it's
people
just
in
like
America.
the North and South in America.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
that's the thing. So when I try to learn the Swedish language and I'm reading books on the pronunciation or I'm doing Duolingo or something like that, and then I try to speak it with my wife, she's like, no, you're saying it wrong. You're saying it wrong. It's because it's not in her accent. It's
It has
in
a different accent.
It's in Stockholm accent.
Yeah.
And so it's just impossible to try to learn it unless I'm just living there.
And are you living in southern or northern Sweden? Skip right now.
Stockholm is kind of well,
you're in
Sweden's like a really long country. Stockholm's not even in the middle, really.
I say it's the northern end. It's towards the northern end of the populated area. Oh, what's that?
Yeah.
Oh, a little
For sure.
Nice.
But it's long like California. So, yeah.
Nice.
We have two creator friends. One's from Denmark and one's from Sweden. So we get I know probably
They
more of
tease
the-
each other a lot about that.
Yeah, more of the Swedish Denmark lore than I should.
Oh yeah, there's a real rivalry between Swedes and Danes. My son hates Denmark. Like kind of jokingly hates them.
Same with our friends. Yeah.
It's like me saying, Ohio, you don't want to drive through Ohio, or you hold your nose when you're driving through Ohio. That kind of
For me, it's Alabama. I'm like, yeah.
You know, Farrell's in chat, David, so you better watch it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it.
That's why you said
There's
it.
many Alabama fans in the chat. They can fuck right off.
Yes, they can.
But you get
Yes,
to
they
say
can.
that because that's where you're from.
So you, I'm kind of surprised you didn't have the acting writing thing planned, because that was essentially, well, college, right? You went to college to do these things.
Right, though, no?
Yeah,
that was
well,
after
first acting came first. I stumbled into it by accident, but I very quickly decided that that's what I would like to try to do. Did several more theater productions in Atlanta before deciding to move. The original goal was to move to New York, but I had a really good friend who was going to film school in Boston at Emerson University, which is like kind of one of the top film schools in the country. And I decided to move to Boston for a year while he was finishing his last year of college, and then he and I would move to New York and be roommates in New York. But the year that I spent in Boston, they had like a kind of a continuing education setup where you could just pay to attend some classes at Emerson University. And you would go, usually they were in the evening. And that is the first place that I ever took a course in screenwriting at Emerson. And then I kind of, from that moment on, I became a little obsessed with trying to combine those two things, both acting and writing, and trying to use one to create opportunities for the other, pretty much. Which
I
is
mean,
what
it's not unheard of, right? There's a lot of people that
Sylvester
started
Stallone.
as writers and then graduated sort of.
All the
for lack of
famous
a better
comics
term.
are doing it now too. They're like,
I feel like a lot of people don't know that Stallone wrote Rocky. I mean, that's a brilliant story that I think a lot of people.
Oh, that's
still are
amazing
familiar
story.
with.
Yeah, he created a character for himself, kind of like you did.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's because he played, his character Rocky seems so stupid. Like he seems so unintelligent that you wouldn't think that he would be smart enough to actually write that script. I think most people don't realize it.
Well, and he stuck to his guns on that too. He got so broke. So the problem that, if you guys don't know, the problem was he wrote Rocky and he was trying to cast himself as Rocky Balboa. Nobody wanted to cast him though. Nobody knew him. He had this funny speech pattern and he couldn't get anybody to produce the movie. He ended up getting so broke that he sold his dog. Some guy bought his dog off him. And the first thing after, it was like the last week or month or a couple months or something, he finally got somebody to produce the movie. And then the first thing he did is went back and bought his dog, paid an exorbitant amount of money.
I don't know. No. He didn't buy his dog. The guy found him and gave him back the dog. He didn't buy it back.
I thought he paid like $1,000 or something.
He might have like gifted him money and been like, "Thanks, and here, this is a gift for you." But the guy didn't he didn't have to buy it back. The guy gave.
Well, I got most of the story right.
You got most of the story right.
That's pretty cool, though.
So
it is. It's super cool.
So, Rocky is, basically Sylvester Stallone. He didn't have to act much.
Right.
How much is your character, Mr. English? George English like you?
I mean, he's pretty similar in a lot of ways. I would say that I'm a very curious person. I'm easily fascinated by things. I would say the part where George and I kind of part ways, so to speak, is like the part of the series where it starts to get kind of dangerous, like, like the idea that I would put my family in any kind of jeopardy.
I was thinking that too. What about your family? I don't see you doing that.
That's not something that I like. I have, a wife. I have 2 kids. They are literally my 3 favorite people on the face of the planet. So, like, if I thought somebody was trying to kill me because of something that I was looking into, I would be like, you know what? I'll stop. I'm good.
Not worth it.
No. And I don't see you leaving your family either.
No.
English left
He sent him away for safety. He didn't leave him.
That's true.
Technically, she kind of left on her own, if we're being fair. Yeah, he didn't send her anywhere. She took off. She was like, nah.
But the character didn't stop what he was doing and go follow them either. He kept doing
That's true. However, can I tell you something very interesting? Something that was a really frustrating. One of the most frustrating parts of developing We Got This was that I went through a lot of situations where I was censored from doing what I originally wanted to do. The Olaf Palme case is still kind of, and especially at the time, was still a very sensitive topic. The idea of trying to make the show that I wanted to make was technically seen as being somewhat taboo, which is why it took me about 10 years to pull it off. And there were a lot of interesting things, both big and small, that I wanted to do with the show. One of which was the original version of the character who was going to be my wife. She was going to be part of the investigation. Like she was going to be her whole thing was going to be like, yeah, I'm in. Let's fucking do this. Let's do like we were going to be like this kind of fun husband and wife dynamic duo, and then dragging all these other people into it. Yeah. But the channel was like, no, you have to make her like mad at you.
Yeah, you have to be the crazy. You have to be crazy, and she has to be the.
And I was like, yeah, but that's like the most stereotypical version of the story you could come up with.
Right.
I was like, I want to do something that is like something. I want to create a female character that people haven't really seen.
Badass.
Yeah, kind of like maybe she's even a little bit crazier than I am.
Yeah,
actually, was the goal.
But do you think they did that because she's Swedish and they didn't want a Swedish person being portrayed in that way?
No, I think it was really that, like, even though the channel had said yes and we were into developing this thing, I think they were terrified of the things that I wanted to do the whole time. And so they were constantly kind of, and also every time I would write a version of the script, it would get sent to an army of lawyers who would fact check the things that I had written in there to make sure that I didn't say anything that would get us sued for defamation.
Right.
So, the show is extremely realistic then, guys. You got to go watch it.
You guys have
Nick
to.
Staroff, by the way. So Nick Staroff is in the chat. He's our Swedish YouTuber. He is Southern, though, unfortunately. The Palma murder, the baseball gang. He says the baseball gang. What is that?
The baseball gang.
Is that
I don't know, something with the Palma murder.
That was one of the.
Oh, I know what he's talking about.
Oh, tell us, please.
He's talking about this. It was a group of dirty cops that they were referred to as the Baseball Ligan, which is like the baseball league. They were plainclothes cops who all wore like baseball caps, and they were extremely violent. And they would go around and they would, instead of like arresting a drug dealer, they would grab him and they would beat the shit out of him with a baseball bat. And then they would cuff him and take him into the station and be like, well, he resisted arrest, so we had to do this.
To be fair, we had the same thing in the 80s too, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're on the same page.
Where the baseball league factors into the Palma case is these guys were all not all of them, but they were all like very right-wing, kind of borderline neo-Nazis. They hated Olof Palme. And one of the theories is that they, at the behest of some larger group, were actually responsible for carrying out the physical assassination. And there is all of this evidence that was collected from people who were there on the street that night of multiple men walking up and down the street where Palma was shot, all communicating to each other with walkie-talkies.
Yeah, I heard that.
They are commonly referred to as the walkie-talkie men. And some people say that some of those walkie-talkie men were identified as guys who worked with this kind of ultra right-wing police unit. And years later, they actually were forced to admit that they were down there that night, but that they were conducting a completely separate operation. Like,
it's just interesting.
It was like a training exercise. They said it was a training exercise. And it's like, wait a minute. You have one of the most badass cop units in the entire country that just happens to be on the street where the prime minister was killed doing a training exercise, and you guys couldn't catch the fucking killer?
Well, not even catch him. They didn't do anything, right?
No,
they found out
so
later.
Here's my thing. This is what is like, I always think of Occam's razor, right? If you hear hoofbeats, think horse, not zebra sort of approach.
Yeah.
Right. We're dealing with a government organization on a night when Palma sent his security staff away. So is it conceivable that somebody said, hey, we need people in the wings, at least keeping an eye on this guy because he doesn't want his security right up and near him? we'll tell him that we don't have any security around, but we do. And
That's
then they
true,
just
that's possible.
screwed the pooch, right? They just royally screwed up. And they don't want to admit to that.
Why would they? Why? How would that? I don't know.
Because they don't want to say, listen, he sent us away, but we knew we needed to keep an eye on him. And so we still did it. And then we still screwed up because he was assassinated. They'd have to admit to screwing up. By the way, I got the dome on. Look at that. And
A lot of people do focus on the fact that he sent his security people home for the night. I think one thing that's important to remember is when this happened. It happened. This is the last weekend of February, right before the first week in March, is sort of like spring break in Stockholm.
Okay.
Like it's the week where everybody leaves town and goes skiing or goes to their country house, or it's like a week off. It's basically spring break. So most people Stockholm was not very populated that particular evening because most people had already left.
Interesting.
The guy who wound up investigating the case for the police was actually 4 hours away when he got the phone call that Palma was shot, and he was about to go skiing.
Oh, wow.
He was going to go cross country skiing for a week, and he had to jump back in his car and drive back to Stockholm.
One would argue that it was almost too convenient of a situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But isn't that how most things go? It's just like, all the ducks had to be lined up in a perfect row.
Just embrace the corruption, Dave. God.
I know. Well, I want to think of so this is another great scene. So there's what's the character's name that wrote the book? I can't remember his name. In your
the actor or the character?
The character.
Bjorn.
So there's this character who wrote a book, and everyone thinks he's just like some crazy conspiracy theorist. And all of a sudden his book becomes, sort of like the groundwork for the rest of this investigation. And I just absolutely love this scene because this is like a perfect synopsis of his character.
It's like an Illuminati thing.
Nej, det är ingen eller ja, jo, det kan man säga. Det är precis det. Yes.
It's like no. It's not. Well, actually, no. Yeah, exactly. It's Illuminati. He's going through. By the way, if I pull this back up, maybe I can pause it. He's going through this whole. He's got this whole pyramid drawn up, and I think eventually he points to he's like a CIA, and all this stuff is at the top of this pyramid.
So this is based on a real conversation that I had with a guy who was working on the Palma case.
Outstanding.
Who tried to convince me that Olof Palma he's one of those conspiracy theories that has he has two theories that actually contradict each other. They're both true somehow. So he had this whole pyramid Illuminati theory, but he also had this theory that Olof Palma had faked his own death because he had AIDS.
Okay, so
at which point I fell out of my chair. I was talking to him like I'm talking to you guys, like a digital Zoom meeting, and I bent over laughing so hard when he said that. And then when I came back up and looked at the screen, I realized he wasn't laughing.
He wasn't joking.
So just before this, I clicked the part out, but you're talking to him about his book, and he's like, you ask him to sign it. Even though it's a library book, so
oh my God!
And then as he's signing it, you're talking about the book, and you're like, "Yeah, it's a great sort of starting spot for this investigation." And he's like, "What do you mean, like starting place?" Right. Well, then all the dots connect. I think there's some work to be doing, and then he scribbles it out. And I think he writes "FU" in the book or something.
Yeah,
it's a great character. This guy's he's the nerdiest, weirdest dude in the show, and I love him.
So he is the actor in that scene. His name is Ulla Sari. He is he's probably one of my closest friends here in Sweden. He is like such a good dude, just a great person, and I think he might be the most genuinely funny person I've ever he's funny without trying to be funny. He just has
he's a great comedic actor. He's probably funnier in real life.
The first time I met him, maybe you'll get this reference. I think you guys are probably old enough to get it, but you remember Roberto Benigni? the Italian actor who kind of took the world by storm about 15, 20 years ago.
Why is that ringing a bell?
I know the name, but I can't.
He
I'm
was in
horrible
this
with
like
names.
film about like Holocaust survivors called Life is Beautiful, I think. And
okay.
He's got kind of crazy hair, and he's just like a really funny person. The first time I met Ulasari, I was like, I don't see any reason why he can't be a Swedish Roberto Benigni. This might be the funniest person I've ever met in my life. Like, he just is. Some people just are funny. Yeah, there's Roberto Benigni. That's him.
Okay. Is he that kind of like dorkable? I think is a term.
No.
Okay.
Actually, Ulla is probably I would argue that Ulasari is probably the greatest character actor in Swedish history.
Really?
Period.
Okay.
Nice.
And he is nothing. If you go through and look at all the characters that he plays, you can't peg them. You can't pin them. They're all different, and they're nothing like him.
Oh, he's talented.
He shares almost nothing in common with most of the characters that he plays, and none of them, barely are two of them alike. He's just really good.
That's talent. That's pure
So
talent.
more people have logged in since we last talked about the DVD, about where people want to know where can they watch this amazing series.
So, let me do my little thing. So this is the star, writer, director. Did you direct this or no? Did you direct?
No, I didn't actually direct this.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were credited as a director.
The guy who directed is a guy named Patrick Eklund. He's just a really talented Swedish director. Very funny guy.
Okay. Well, the show is called We Got This, and we have Skiff here with us, who is the writer and star of the show, which dives into the assassination of Olof Palme, the Swedish prime minister in 1986. It's a dark comedy, I think is a good way to describe it. It's hilarious. I absolutely love it.
Brilliant.
I watched it first on SVT. We're thinking that maybe it's available on Sundance, but otherwise you can always order the DVD, which is what I did. Oh, that's what I was going to say.
And just go to David's house to watch it because nobody owns a DVD player anymore.
I watched this. I watched this on SVT like 4 years ago. And
that's when it came out.
Yeah.
2020.
And then we had a power outage here. And then we got a generator running, but we had no internet. And so my wife said, well, is there something on DVD that we can watch? I was like, we can rewatch We Got This. And that was good. And we haven't watched it in a while. So as we were rewatching it, I messaged Skip on Facebook and I was like, I have this Lego show. There will be a few people. Would you want to come on by chance? And so that was great. But that's why I rewatched it, because our power went out. We had no internet. And I was like, but I got a DVD. It's so good, guys.
Yeah. So
cool.
Jung says, I think Dave has told us about this before. Yes, Dave, did you tell us about this several times? We were going to do a watch
talking about it for years.
Yeah.
We were going to do a watch party with it in my Discord
Yeah.
when Nick was here, and then we just got busy.
I definitely binge watched the entire series in
God.
3 days. It's amazing. It's an amazing
all
film.
The things. I don't know how else to say it.
It's
all the things. Sorry, Val.
It's refreshing, I guess. Maybe refreshing, not refreshing.
Yeah.
It makes sense that you consider. I can't remember his name, but the actor we were just talking about, him as being a good friend, right? Because it looks like the chemistry on screen is there, and it.
So, interesting story about how this show actually. Probably the biggest thing that made this show possible was I've been sitting on this idea for a long time. I knew it would work. I knew exactly how I wanted to do it, and I couldn't get anybody to say yes to it because, like I said, Olof Palme is still kind of a touchy subject, and people just thought it would be weird. And the most common reaction was like, "I don't understand how you're going to make the murder of Olof Palme funny." To which I replied, I was like, well, the murder is not the funny part. It's the people trying to solve it. That's the funny part. And they were like, yeah, okay.
Was that a real question? Like, I don't get how you're going to make the murder funny.
Oh, I believe people would ask that. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, my God.
So I had this idea that it was an interview that I saw that gave me this idea I decided I was going to make a trailer that made it look like the show was already finished.
Is that when you're walking through the crime scene?
No, you haven't seen nobody's
trailer.
seen it. It's like I made a trailer. It's not. I don't think it's on the internet. Oh no! I know what you're talking about. That's a promo I did for Sundance. No, not that.
Okay.
I spent 4 days making I literally wrote a script that was written to look like a trailer that you would see on YouTube that made it look like the show was already finished. And in order to do that, I had to spend my own money. So I went to all the people that I know to ask for favors and stuff like that. So my buddy Ula, who's in the show, Alex, who's also in the show, the journalist, he's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
The older lady who plays Ava, her name is Anki Larson.
I love
She passed away, didn't she?
She did pass away.
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
heard that. Yeah, sorry about that.
She wasn't like a close friend, but I had worked with her before, and I really liked her. And then I called in some favors to some other people, and I wrote a trailer script. We shot it over the course of 3 or 4 days, and we cut it together. And I started showing it to people, and suddenly everybody kind of understood. Once you were able to sort of feel the tone of the show, I think buyers started to understand what I wanted to do. And that just kind of changed the conversation entirely. The fact that I made that trailer.
So
Now,
Iris has a great question. Can you re-release your series on YouTube and monetize it, or some other?
I don't personally own it, so no.
How do we get you to own it?
Who owns it? Who's going to copyright strike us for playing all these clips?
Right?
Nobody will know.
Well, let's buy it. Let's raise the money and let's buy it back so that you can re-release it.
I mean, it's been a weird journey, the show. Like, it's gone all over the world, and it's played on so many different platforms. Like, it was on Sundance in the US. It was on Amazon in the UK. It was on HBO in South America. It was on some other weird platform in the rest of Southern Europe. So it's just gotten tossed around all over the place.
You all need to get a VPN. That's the thing. If you got a VPN, you could probably stream it right now.
It's not on. It's not. It's actually not on SVT anymore, but it's still on Viaplay.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's on Viaplay.
All right, that was one of the.
Viaplay was one of the co-producers, so now it's on Viaplay.
Okay.
And to thank you for the 10-pound super chat. It keeps freezing when I buy memberships, so I will just have to do this. Val, go Fluffy.
To Orc, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
He's been trying to buy memberships for people, but he can't. It's not.
I had that same issue yesterday when I was trying to buy memberships in Nick's stream, in his celebratory 10,000 sub stream. It wouldn't let me. It kept freezing and wouldn't do anything. So I don't know what's going on with that. Are we to expect a season 2 by chance?
No.
Damn it.
No, Valhalla, did you hear
quick.
no?
Oh, I heard it. It was quick.
But Valhalla and I can't live without a
There's an unfortunate story to the answer of that question. So the show came out in 2020, and they actually closed the Real Palma case for real while the show was running.
Oh no!
It was sort of a big deal. It was crazy. It was like, so it led to the show got a lot of attention to it, and then the real case was closing, and so there was this weird crossover of these two things happening at the same time. Anyway, SVT had paid me to start writing a season 2, and then after about 6 months or so, actually, you know what? The day after I was awarded the European Script Award for having written the best TV series in Europe, SVT called and said, "We're canceling season 2."
Oh my God!
That's terrible.
And I said,
man.
"What? I don't understand. Why?" And they said, "Well, we've had some internal discussions," which is always a fun thing to hear. And we've decided that now that they've closed the case for real, it doesn't feel ethical to allow you to keep sort of
poking fun
ethical?
poking fun at this topic.
I don't know.
Oh, I
Is
don't
that would be that? Let me start over.
Try that
Would
again.
that be the same approach in Hollywood? Because I feel like Hollywood wouldn't be like, I don't know if it's ethical or not. We don't really care. We'll just keep running with it.
No, they would just only care if it was going to be profitable or not.
Right?
Hollywood wouldn't give a shit if it was ethical or not.
That's my thought, right?
Not even
it was ridiculous. It was it was just a political decision to shut it down, and I had even written into season 2 this whole concept that the case got shut down. Like I was using real life. I was using all the stuff that was happening in real life and injecting it into the story.
I don't want to ruin the ending because I want people to watch it, but it's set up for a season 2, and the way it's set up, you could very easily incorporate that the official investigation was shut down, and you could still carry on with your season 2.
That's exactly the way I wrote it.
Yeah.
Or let's just do a movie.
Well, the other thing that I had thought, and I've had a hard time getting this done also, but I would like to do a version of We Got This, but about the JFK assassination.
Well,
that would be
it's
fun.
Funny you mentioned that, because Iris, who gave the great idea to remarket this in a different way, said, how about DB Cooper?
Oh, DB Cooper's awesome. That's a great one.
That'd be a good one.
That would be a
That'd
fun
be a really
one.
good one.
That is a really good one.
Get lost in
DB
the
Cooper
woods
would
up
be
there.
very
That'd be great. Yeah. That'd be
Because
great.
there's like a whole society of people who like worship DB Cooper. Like they get together and they dress up like DB Cooper and they wear T-shirts and shit.
And I don't think
are those called LARPers? Are those like LARPers? Wait, I don't remember what.
No, they're not LARPers.
Well, what if they recreate it?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Little
People are
background,
voting about
Dave.
what they want the next one to be.
Dave is in fact a LARPer.
I am not a LARPer.
Refuses to admit it.
He's a
I'm not a
furry.
LARPer. For 5 years, between 16 and 2021, I reenacted the Civil War. I was a reenactor. I wasn't a LARPer.
He was a LARPer.
Okay.
Don't let him
He's a
fool you.
furry
He was a
LARPer.
You reenacted the Civil War. What side were you on?
I was 5th Kentucky Confederacy. I went with Kentucky because I could have gone either way, But
Oh, that's funny.
David.
Oh, I missed a step.
So a lot of people in chat, hello, everyone who's just joined us in the last half hour. A lot of people are wanting to know why the heck we're on at 11 in the morning. And that is because our very special, very amazing guest is in Sweden. And so we don't want him to have to get up at 1 in the morning to have to
Can I say that we have streamed with Danes? I've streamed from Sweden. We've streamed with Brits, and this is the first in Japan. That's true, Japan. This is the first and only time. Maybe not only. This is the first time we've ever arranged this schedule for a guest.
It's also the first time we've had a famous actor, director, producer, writer.
Hey. Calm down, everybody. He's not that special. I just wanted to get day drunk. All right. That's where we're at.
Oh,
I love it. You guys are looking for an excuse to drink during the day. And
Exactly.
Thank you, Nick Starro, for the 10 gifted memberships to Valhalla Awaits channel.
Thanks,
we love
Nick.
you so
I appreciate you, brother.
By the way, can we get an update on what Skiff is actually building over there with his pile of junk?
Yeah, where are we at, man?
So far, I'm here.
Oh my God, I love it.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I'm going to put something in here, but I haven't figured out what I'm going to put in there yet.
It needs a bonsai tree in there.
Skiff had a garage sale down the road from him, or I guess apparently the entire neighborhood, and where a guy was selling a bag of random Legos. So he bought the bag and he's building what his creative mind comes up with.
That's correct. Ooh,
sell that enough that you didn't want to buy a set and spend all that money and give it to the.
Oh,
sorry. The one set that I almost bought actually. What it was the Everyone is Awesome. Have you seen
From
that?
the Lego movie? No, I haven't seen that set.
I haven't
It's
seen
a
that.
really
I might
cool
have
set.
seen it. Check it out.
It's kind of a rainbow vibe. It's got all the colors of the rainbow. And it's got all these little colors, the different colors of the rainbow people, and you put it on there. And
oh yeah. I have seen that. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I was thinking to myself, like, if I'm gonna buy a set, because I'm not like a Lego person necessarily.
Right.
I was like,
the
what
set.
am I gonna
There
put
it is.
up? Yeah, that one.
Well, that's kind of cool. I've never seen
did
that.
that. I did
I've
that
seen it
with
a few
my
times.
grandbaby.
I'm gonna add it to my wish list.
And I would have gotten it, but
I'll just send it to you.
the last 2 weeks have been very crazy for me. I've been glued to this chair for like 2 weeks working.
So what have you been doing? Can you give us an exclusive?
The latest thing that I'm working on is and I'm about a year into developing the script and the whole synopsis. It's a story about an American who tries to discover his Italian roots. He discovers after his mother passes away that he's inherited this small fishing company in this little town just south of Genoa. And he goes there to connect with the other people who own the fishing company. And in short order, he realizes that the man who he is now co-owner of this fishing company with is actually his biological father.
Nice.
But
I don't want to say anything, but this is sounding like my life story.
Yeah. And then he gets so excited about being involved in this fishing company and meeting his biological father, and also trying to kind of unravel the mystery of why his mother never told him. Like, why didn't you tell me that he was alive? Like, what's going on here? Long story short, before it's too late, he realizes that the small fishing company is actually a drug smuggling operation.
All right.
Oh, now that's Dave's life story for sure.
And then it turns into like a kind of it's also a dark comedy. So it's kind of a dark comedy about this loser who suddenly inherits something. And he, for the first time in his life, he has money and he doesn't know what to do with it. And
that's outstanding.
He's the kind of guy who would normally do a lot of drugs. And so it's kind of funny that it's like takes like all the way to episode 5 for him to realize that, wait, we sell drugs? Why didn't anybody tell me?
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
David's mom is in chat and she said, no, it's not about you, Dave.
No, my ancestry comes from it. My mom's side is
Italian. But your mom's a saint. She does not have any drug dealers.
No, I know, but I got cousins there. I'm going there to get the paperwork.
My cousins are into drugs though,
so that I can get my Italian citizenship because it's on my mother's side. It's administrative, and then I can get the little European passport, and I don't have to fuss with
Nick
the long
says,
lines.
yes, that's Dave's life
anymore.
So this opportunity came about because of an Italian producer who saw We Got This and really loved it and asked me to write something for him. And I started working on this idea with his company for like the past year. I've been collaborating with this Italian screenwriter. And now we have the pilot script written and we have a synopsis for the whole series written and a whole sort of character breakdown package. And now we're getting ready to go.
This is exciting.
Try to get the buyer to make the show, basically.
I feel like it's an HBO show. You should go with HBO.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do actually.
I would recommend going with anybody that says yes and gives the right amount of money.
HBO is a little. HBO is kind of. I've worked for HBO before, and I right after about a year or less than a year after We Got This was released, I got a job writing a pilot for a new series for HBO in the US. And cool. It was an adaptation of an existing German show called Arthur's Law, which is, if you can find that, Arthur's Law is freaking hilarious. It's talk about a dark comedy. It's a show about this guy who he cuts his own hand off to get the insurance money. That's it.
Jesus.
Yeah. He cuts his hand off to get the insurance money, but he gets caught on security footage, kind of practicing before he actually does it. So he doesn't get the money. And the whole show is about him trying to rebuild his life after this horrible mistake that he's made.
With one hand.
And he falls in love. His wife is just an absolute. His wife is freaking talk about an acting performance. She plays his wife. And the chief of police are twin sisters, so they have the same actor, the same actress playing both of those parts.
Oh, I'm watching this.
And she's freaking phenomenal. She's so good. I don't know what her name is, but I mean, that woman deserves a fucking Emmy. She was so good.
So
you can watch it on. Wait, can we?
It was on HBO.
We can get it on Prime.
Can you get it on Prime? I would highly recommend Arthur's Law. It's so good.
Okay, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna add that to our party, David.
Is this it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Iris, Josie, and I are all Mexican American women, and we want to know if we can be extras in the Italian, because we can pull off Italian.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
Italians are basically Europe's Mexicans.
They are.
Yeah, that's why we made spaghetti westerns in Italy.
Yeah. And it's so funny because when I'm in Italy, the Italians come up to me and start talking to me in Italian, and I'm like, no parlo italiano, and they're like, oh, you speak Italian. And I'm like, no, I don't.
So I wrote this pilot. They wanted to do an American adaptation of Arthur's Law, and so I worked on that for the better part of a year. And about 2 weeks after I delivered the pilot, and they were supposedly supposed to be discussing like how we were going to make the show, was when the merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery took place, and the whole thing like collapsed. The whole industry began to collapse at that point. And everybody I was working with at HBO got fired, and the script got thrown in the trash. And I called them up and I said, can I buy the script back from you? And they said, no, if we don't make it, nobody's making it.
I heard they do that.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I've heard that from other people before that they do that.
I feel like that's just Hollywood.
It is. I mean, they paid me an absurd amount of money to write 1 hour of TV that nobody's ever going to see. So I'm fine with that. But it was like, it was a great fucking show. It was really, and the idea that someone would chop off an appendage to like get the insurance money is like such an American thing anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's such a like American phenomenon. So much so that when I was doing research for this project, I found a website. I wish I could remember what it was. I found this website that you can go to, and it had this drop-down menu where you could select which body part
and how much the
and
payout
which
was.
state you live in,
Oh no.
and it would determine how much money you would get for that body part. Like if you lost your hand in Florida, you would get more money than if you lost your hand in Minnesota or something. Like every state had like a different number. And it was like hand, pinky finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, thumb.
Okay, so
I need to get my fingernails.
This is so as an attorney that sometimes does personal injury law, I bet what you're looking at is the insurance tables. So if you sue somebody to say like I was injured by you, and they have insurance, the insurance adjuster is sitting there with a laptop. And they're typing in, okay, which index finger, or, which finger did you lose? When did you lose it? How old were you? What is your occupation? All these things. And they pump it into a computer and it spits out a number. And it's like, you should settle for this amount. I bet you that's what you found.
I mean, it was just so funny because I was sitting there. I was like, if I'm going to chop off my hand, I need to make sure I move to New Hampshire first because that's where I'm going to get the most money for it.
Just don't get caught practicing. Don't get caught practicing.
Exactly. You just got to freaking go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Josie, we'll fake it. Let's do it.
Let's fake it.
Yeah, we're going to try to be Italian so we can be extras in Skiff's movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, American audiences won't know.
They will if we tell them to watch it. Hello.
No, I mean they won't know that you're actually.
Oh yeah, they will.
Mexican and not Italian.
They didn't know. Hollywood did that for decades with all the old westerns and stuff. They would cast anybody that was
Spaghetti
remotely close.
westerns, maybe they were all Italians.
Yeah.
Greek, Italian.
I mean,
Mexican,
Natalie Wood wasn't Puerto
Native
Rican.
Americans.
Hello.
It's cheaper.
Natalie Wood wasn't Puerto Rican. Yeah, I mean, okay, fair enough. So
Iris said a middle finger lost on a male gave us a lot of consortium for wife.
So Skiff, you've lived in, how long have you lived in Sweden?
I've been here since 2006.
Okay.
18 years.
That's a long time.
A little over 18 years.
Now I said Sweden is like Twilight Zone-y. It's very similar, at least in Michigan where I live. It's very similar to Michigan except it's just a little off that makes this kind of just throws off your balance. Like the street signs don't look exactly the same, or everything's just a little different. The mustard tastes just a little different. How's your experience been? Is that similar, or what would you say about living in Sweden versus the U.S.?
Well, based on where I grew up, and also I was living in California before I moved to Sweden, I wouldn't say there's any similarities at all for the most part. I mean, it's a very different type of place. It's just a different mentality. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes maybe not. It's great place to raise a family. 100%.
Yeah, sure seems that way.
That was the real reason why we decided to move here, and I can say that I have no regrets on that front whatsoever. We raised two amazing kids who are now technically adults. Although
is school free? Is the primary age free? Like it's like American public schools in that way, or no?
School's free.
Wow.
Healthcare for the kids is free.
Wow.
Going to the dentist for the kids is free.
God, I would be so rich.
It's so all that stuff is pretty great. It's one of those things where, sure, I mean, people say like, well, you pay a lot of taxes, and I guess that's true, but I mean, I think you pay a lot of taxes in the States too. I don't think it's really that big.
40%. I pay 40% here.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any difference. To be honest, I think the big difference is that you don't really get anything for it, whereas we do.
I do not.
So
I do not.
I have no regrets on that front. I had knee surgery like about, I don't know, 8 years ago, I guess. It cost me $30 to have full reconstructive knee surgery.
My co-payment is $65 just to go to a doctor. My co-payment.
I mean, like when my daughter was born in Los Angeles, we got a bill for like $25,000. I think my wife had insurance at the time, but they sent us the bill to show like, oh, this is what you would have paid. So we only paid a percentage of that. Here, when my son was born, we paid $20.
That's insane.
$20.
Wow.
Did your son get, just off topic for a minute, did your son get the little polka dot birth certificate? Or
no?
No. Okay. So
polka dot.
My wife's daughter was born in Sweden, but because she declared her also as a dual citizen in the U.S., there's like this little red or pink polka dot birth certificate, which I thought was.
Do your kids get that? Are your kids dual citizens because of you?
My kids are dual citizens, but what we did is when he was born, we just, he was just a normal Swedish baby.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we just had to go down to the U.S. Embassy to apply for his American citizenship, and we got that in no time. So, yeah.
What
we pay a lot in taxes.
I have this book somebody sent me, or somebody gave me. I think FD Food Fair. I don't know if they're in the
How to be Swedish.
Nice. How to be Swedish. Yeah.
But
this book has so many things. Like instantly, I recognize it. So apparently Swedes are obsessed with the summer and sunshine. I would stipulate to that. I don't know if you would.
Yeah, that's true.
I would be if I didn't see it all the time. The sun.
The taking off the shoes thing is amazing. Is that a big thing in your household, taking off the shoes?
You know what's funny about that? I thought the taking off the shoes thing was weird when I was first introduced to it. I did.
Yeah.
But now I think I can't. It makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, it's gross.
That I feel like every time I go back to, because I think it depends on what. Maybe it's more common if you live in a place where it snows. It makes a lot of sense to take your shoes off before you go into somebody's house. You know what I mean?
Right.
That makes
Slosh all
sense.
over the place.
I came from Georgia, so I wasn't used to taking my shoes off when I went into the house. You know what I mean? So. Right. I don't always take my shoes off immediately when I come to my home. If I know that it's, like today, like I just came home from the store, I come in, I drop off the ground. I don't have to take my shoes off immediately, but unless it's snowing outside, of course.
I've never allowed anyone to wear shoes in my home ever.
Really? In California, of all places?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it makes sense.
I mean, and I had babies, and I didn't want my kids crawling on the ground with people's feces feet. You know, their shoes have saliva, feces.
People's feces feet.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I live on a goat farm, so it's pretty common practice to not wear your shoes in the house here.
Oh God, right? Oh, I can imagine what comes on your shoes. Oh,
yeah, that was never a thing for me, but that's a thing in my house now, being married to a Swedish woman.
Yes.
And now it's second nature. I always kick my shoes off walking into anybody's home. It's sort of like been drilled into me so much. But it's like Japan and Sweden. You get your shoes off when you walk in.
Oh, all Asian countries, even Philippines, even in Hawaii. Like when my mom lives in Hawaii, and they call them slippers. They call flip-flop
house
slippers.
House
slippers.
And
and they're only for inside. And so if you go outside to the backyard, you have another pair sitting on the back. So I have shoes all around. All the doors I have in my house have shoes on the outside.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
Have you ever had this conversation with your wife, or something to the extent of, quit embarrassing me by talking to random people?
I
feel like you have a very outgoing personality, and most Swedes don't. And so
yeah, no, luckily my wife is pretty good at she's pretty good at allowing me to just be me for the most part. I think my kids are usually a little, maybe slightly more embarrassed. When I go out, I talk to myself a lot when I walk around, and I sometimes I'll write, like I'll actually write scenes for a show out loud in the world as I'm walking around sometimes. And and people think I'm talking to them, and I'm not. And it's also kind of one of those, writers oftentimes joke about their search history, like, oh my God, I hope nobody ever looks at my search history.
Oh yeah, we have the same thing with YouTube.
But it's like kind of funny because like I was on the phone the other day with a buddy of mine, and we were working on this project, and I'm outside and I'm talking. I'm like, okay, so maybe we should talk about this kidnapping thing for a little bit. and we're working on this story about a celebrity who gets kidnapped, and it just sort of hit me as I said, let's talk about this kidnapping thing. That I'm like, God, I hope nobody's listening to our conversation right now.
This sounds more like an inside conversation than an outside conversation.
I don't know why. I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm bad at. I'm very bad at like sort of just not being whoever I need to be in any given moment.
You mean you're not fake? Is what you mean?
The reason why
I guess, yeah,
is in the book. It says avoid your neighbors, and that's the whole thing about like Swedes don't talk.
That's what Baker says about Daneland. He said it's just that like you don't say, oh, good morning, how are you? Like, no.
You know what's really funny is when my mother comes. When my mother's like a typical born and raised in the South, lived there her whole life. When she comes, I've lived here long enough to know, like I'll chat to somebody if I feel like there's something interesting that they're doing. My mother will talk to literally anyone on the face of the planet. And she'll go up to people and compliment people for their, like, where did you get that scarf? That's so pretty. Like, oh my God, I love your shoes. Like, those are amazing. Like, and Swedish people just freeze when she does it. They have no idea what to do. It's quite funny.
We had so Nick Staroff, who's in chat in Sweden. He has recently made a trip to the States. He stayed at Dave's house one night. He stayed at my house one night.
Yeah.
And we have our Danish buddy Baker. He was in May. He was out here visiting, and they both. Well, I guess I asked Nick, but Baker made a point to point out how inviting and opening we were as an American culture compared to over there. And he was like, it's so bizarre. You guys just opened up your houses. We're staying over here. It's
oh yeah,
it was cool.
That's how we do.
Culture shock.
That's how we do.
There's a TV show called Welcome to Sweden. Have you ever watched it? Amy Poehler, I think, was the producer. Her brother was the main.
I have
you
seen
know about it.
Nope.
I've seen it.
There's so there's this a scene where he, the American, who's married or marrying a Swedish woman, but they're in the apartment and he's talking to people on the elevator and they all like kind of scurry away.
They're all scared.
By the way, that like the whole show was like my introduction to Sweden, with like the whole in-laws thing and everything too. It's a different culture there. They don't like to be bothered. And I kind of have that outgoing personality where I'm not afraid to talk to people. So even here in the States, my wife says, like, quit embarrassing me because I'm just carrying on. That was just
my wife gave up on that years ago.
Yeah. David's a newlywed still though, so that she'll get used to it. She'll get used to it. I have two sets of kids, Skip. So I have like old kids and then a young child still at home. So they love to like tease how different I was for each set of kids. And my youngest daughter is super shy. Like she's not anything like me. And so she dies like when we're in public and I'm like, oh my God, your skin looks so good. Who does your face? And so the older two, I overheard them giving her tips on how to deal with me as a mom. And the older two said, I know, how mean, right? Yeah, mean, great. The older two told her, you have to pretend it doesn't bother you and she'll stop. And I was like, okay, no, I won't, but I'm not doing it to you. I'm just being me.
What what is the most I guess, well, okay, so growing up or whatever, born and raised in Georgia, living in California before going to Sweden, what is the biggest difference that you've seen living in Sweden versus the US?
It's a good question. I mean, culturally speaking, both Sweden and America are getting more similar every day, it feels like, especially for younger people. They listen to the same music, they watch the same TV shows, they see the same movies and stuff. I would say Swedes are not quite as insane as Americans when it comes to politics. Would probably be the easiest one to point out. I mean, not that they're immune. I mean, there's weird political stuff going on here too, but I don't know. They're just not. It's funny. Like in America, we either think or we joke about the fact that we're number one.
Yeah.
Right. Sweden doesn't even think they're number two. You know what I mean? They're like, number one. Like we're not even sure if we're top 5 for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? So it's just like they're more humble.
Yeah.
More realistic, perhaps.
They're not as cocky. They're not as rude.
I sent a chat to
universe.
To our Danish friend when he was streaming earlier, and I said America is number 1 next to Sweden, and he's like, well, that puts America very low on the list. I guess the
appellation.
Yeah, no,
that's
that's true. But I saw you did an interview regarding the U.S. presidential race on Swedish television.
Oh yeah, you vowed to be a president. You vowed to run for president.
Oh well, that too.
Do it.
Well, so those are two different things.
Yeah, those are two different things. I was just sending Valhalla and Wendy a ton of stuff about you. So
I recently was asked to go on to SVT to discuss the American election. They were doing an episode about. It was kind of a weird. It was like kind of a political talk show, and it was me, a Swedish journalist, and a Swedish Trump supporter. Which I was like, "Where the fuck did you find this guy?" Which is kind of weird. But anyway, so I've been asked to do some of that stuff lately. The thing about running for president was actually my first attempt to make a trailer for. That was actually an idea for a scripted TV series thing that I wanted to do years ago.
Oh, that would have been great.
About a random guy who runs who runs for president kind of out of nowhere.
Movie.
Like as a third party candidate. I'm a little fascinated by the political system. Like I'm not a huge fan of RFK Jr. I don't really begrudge anyone who is. But what I am interested in is this concept that it's nearly impossible to run for president as a third party candidate. This is something that never really crossed my mind. And I actually credit Sweden for me even thinking about this, because in Sweden, we have a parliamentary system where you have 7 different parties that you can choose from that you can vote for. And when you vote for one of those parties, however many, the percentage of the vote that they get is how many seats they get in parliament, right? Seems fairly simple.
Yeah.
Right.
In America, it's winner take all. You either get more than 50% and you win, or you get less and you lose. And if you get 49% of the vote, fuck you.
Too bad.
It doesn't matter. And
Yep.
I never thought that was weird until I moved here. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty weird, actually. You
That
got
actually is
49% of the people who vote for this person, and they just have to be sad that they got screwed in the end somehow.
Well, that is very different than most of the world's governments. That is a problem, I feel. And I'm trying to pull up your YouTube video because it was great. It's on your channel, which I don't think I linked, but I need to do that.
Well, while you're looking for that, Mass is David is. Did you see Mass yet? You did. You hung out with Mass already, right?
Yeah, I hung out with Mass over in Denmark last month.
So he's from Denmark, and he says, seen from the outside, it seems like Sweden has always had a real fascination with American culture, American cars, rockabilly, reggae, etc.
100%.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Sweden, well, both culture and politics. Like that was one of the things. Like they care more about American politics than they care about their own politics.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of to their detriment in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't really pay more attention to what's happening over in America than they do here. And then they kind of keep their eye off the ball and they miss.
Maybe they are craving the drama that we have over here instead of being so like not dramatic.
Yeah. I mean, obviously American politics are entertaining, you know what I mean? If you just regardless of who you're
nothing else, Americans are entertaining.
If you're just signing in for the show, like it's a hell of a show, you know what I mean?
Right.
Wait, I can't find it anymore. Why can't I find it?
Speaking of shows, we got this for those of you who've just tuned in. There's been a few. We
She
have a
was
lot of
transition. That was nice, Wendy. Well done.
Thank you. We have some viewers from. We gained a lot of new viewers from the John Yates group, and we really appreciate you being here. And we're talking to this. Okay, I'm a fangirl, so I'm going to be quiet because my adjectives are like way too fangirly. We're here talking to a writer, a producer, an actor, a creator of all sorts.
Award-winning.
Nice. Thanks.
Yeah. I got you, buddy.
American born, American raised, now currently in the last 18 years been living in Sweden, the problem we're having is getting y'all to be able to see the series because it was a Sundance. We think it could be on the Sundance app, like to watch shows on there.
I think it's called the streaming. They have a streaming platform called Sundance Now, I think.
Great. And we think you might be able to rent it on Apple. I couldn't log into Apple on my phone for some reason. So I can't.
Can you not rent it through Amazon also?
I looked. I couldn't.
No, we couldn't.
No.
So when I looked it up, it actually said that it was available on Amazon, but I couldn't find it anywhere on Amazon.
Me too, Val.
On Prime or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna create an account with Sundance and see if I can get it logged in.
Hey, Alan, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Alan.
Oh shit, that's helpful.
But it's an amazing show about the. It's a dark comedy about the assassination of Olof Palme, the Swedish Prime Minister in 1986. And it's a great show. So what are you working on now, Skip? You said you talked about the
Italian.
Yeah, is that still a go, or is that because of
people want to know where you're making that too, please.
Oh, right. So actually the picture that you can see behind me there on my other screen.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right here. This is a little fishing village called Kamolyi just about 20, 30 minutes south of Genoa.
Always been there.
And Camogli is where my great grandmother is from, and it's actually the place where my name comes from, Schiaffino. Her name was Annetta Schiaffino. My mother named me after my great uncle, who in Camogli there is a statue of the guy that I'm named after because he fought with Garibaldi in the Italian War of Unification.
Oh, nice.
His name is Simone Schiaffino. And if you Google that, he looks a lot like me. He's got a long beard. He usually wears like a cool hat, or I usually wear a cool hat. He's a statue now.
What can you spell his first name?
He's a statue.
Simone, like Simone, basically.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Simone with an E at the end. And then my last name, Schiaffino, or my middle name, actually.
They always have, isn't your first name Andrew or something?
Anthony is actually my first name, but I never used it. So everybody's just always called me Skiff.
Skiff works. I like Skiff.
Yeah, of course you do. It reminds me of a sailing term.
Yeah, it's like a small boat.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that Italian TV series. What else am I working on? I have a Swedish project. I'm trying to do. It's a feature film. It's essentially like Die Hard, but at the Swedish Parliament, where the Swedish Parliament is taken over by a bunch of Nazis, and the only people who are there to save the day are the idiots who work in the building because all the politicians are gone. Like it's like after they've all gone home.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like Die Hard at the Swedish Parliament. I'm also working on it. I haven't really gone out with this yet, but I'm trying to put together a TV series about the first woman, the first American female police officer in U.S. history.
Yay, Hercules. Oh, I love that.
I think she might be the first female cop in world history, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But
see, America is leading the world yet again. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Takes place in 1910 in Los Angeles, so a long time ago.
That's so
kind of crazy. It's a great story. It's based on it. Obviously, it's based on a true story. It's all very historical, but I want to do.
I love it.
Something that is like I don't know. I love this British TV series called The Midwife about the women who took care of all the, pregnant mothers in the poor Poplar area of London, like in the 1950s and stuff. So it'd be kind of like that, but it's about cops instead of midwives, basically.
I love that. Iris is asking, do you have a YouTube channel? How do we keep up with your new projects?
Oh,
you have a social media presence?
I do have a social media. I mean, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. I have recently. I still have these accounts. I've recently deleted Facebook and Instagram from my phone because it just became too easy of a distraction when it's on my phone. So I don't. When I post something on Facebook or Instagram, it's either to promote whatever I'm doing,
right?
Or
not
it's
to interact.
It's either to wish my wife happy anniversary or to tell my kids happy birthday, or
not to show what you ate for dinner that night.
I might post like 3 or 4 times a year, honestly.
You know, it's funny. I when I first watched We Got This, I think I was just like Googling your name, and your Facebook account came up, and I was like, oh, I'll send a friend request. Like he's gonna actually respond to my friend request. You are my personal Facebook account. You are like one of like 10 people.
I don't have your personal. Yeah, I'm not on
nobody,
it.
Nobody does except my family. It's like a slideshow of family photos from my family.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
But you accepted it, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And so I felt very honored. And but I have my professional one, but I don't think I ever sent you a friend request on that one. But that's why I followed you around a little bit, and I saw the Sundance stuff and all of that. And then I saw you posted about your interview regarding the presidential election. What was interesting is they called it, I think the title of the show was like Puppet Master or something.
Yeah, it was it was really dumb. The premise of the episode that they did about that, they had one big is Obama the puppet master for Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
That
And
was
you're
the
like,
gist.
well, your
That was
response
like-
was the best. It was like, well, we'd all love to think, this like grand story that
Right?
he's the puppet master, but I just don't think that it's
I don't.
true.
I was like, I don't really. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I was like, they kept trying to like drum something up and make it more controversial than it really was, and I was just like, I mean, he's the most like popular Democrat on the face of the planet. So yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, does Obama still have influence? Yeah, of course he does, but he's not like controlling what she does. Like, it doesn't really work that way, I don't think. So
That's what I was
don't
wondering.
know.
Are you the go-to American to talk U.S. politics with? Like, are you on a lot of these shows? Or?
That's actually the first time I've been invited. Like
they're gonna have you back.
But one of the other projects that I'm hoping to work on in the next year, and this will be a very interesting experimental project if they let me do this. A lot of people in Sweden are familiar with the fact that there is like a very real Americanization of Swedish politics going on in the last like probably 8 years or so. You start to notice that there are things happening here that look familiar to me as an American, things that happened. We're starting to have more crime here. So their reaction to crime is very reminiscent of like, the Nixon and the Reagan era, the war on drugs, like all that
I was
kind of
going to
stuff.
say the
like,
Nancy Reagan,
all that.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of things. And I guess it's probably fairly common in Europe, whereas the situation where a lot of things that happen in America usually happen here about 10 years later. So a lot of these political ideas are being imported from America into the Swedish political system. Privatization of schools.
I was going to say, ideally, you would have seen the results and then decided maybe the war on drugs isn't such a good idea.
So that is precisely kind of what's at the heart of the idea that I want to do. Essentially, I pitched this idea to SVT to do something that's like a documentary / mockumentary, where I'm trying to sort of peel back the layers of the onion to sort of try to figure out where is this whole why, like, in the world where it's like, I understand you want to listen to Taylor Swift, you want to watch our TV shows, you want to do all that stuff, like that makes sense. But if there's anything you should not be borrowing from us, it's any pages from our political playbook. This is not something you want to borrow from us. So why is this happening? And where the mockumentary part comes in is that I have decided that the only way for me to find the real answer to that question, why is this happening? I'm going to have to start my own political party and run for Swedish parliament.
I think that's great.
Go.
And I'm going to make a movie about it.
But that's it. I don't really want to do that. So that part of it is fake. The party is fake.
Juicy.
But the journey is real. So I'm building this fake vessel to learn something real in the process. And I'm negotiating with SVT to work on that. The next Swedish election it's in 2 years. So we're just starting to have the conversation now about it, and they seem to like it, and hopefully they'll let me get started pretty soon, because I want to do something that's really well informed. And I feel like one of the biggest problems in Sweden is that most Swedish politics is very Stockholm centric. Like, most people live in Stockholm. Yeah. Like, all the politicians are here. Nobody seems to really care what's going on in the rest of the country. So I want to have like a situation where we take this thing on the road and we go to little towns. We go to Skåne, where your wife is from. We go up to Norrland and talk to people up there and figure out what their problems are. And like, do you feel, figure out why people aren't listening to them, basically.
It's that's interesting. I like that idea. I always see Sweden as, like, if I was to find its political organization, first of all, it's a total bureaucracy, which people have a hard time understanding that the U.S. is also, although I don't feel like we're supposed to be. Right. But it's like a nanny state is my biggest thing. And there's been a lot of I say
David, sorry, when you say that, you mean like being babysat, like being?
Yeah, I like my first approach was like when we were buying fireworks in Sweden. It was very sort of controlled, it's sort of state run. And then that got into a discussion about firearms in Sweden. Like you can have them, but you got to go through all this training.
So like California.
Yeah, I guess. But then once you actually step back and think about it, US is very similar in that regard already. And just people just don't want to accept that fact. So I could see that a little bit.
So I have to read this comment from Iris. It's hilarious. She's talking about Skiff. She's all, this guy going to mess up and get himself elected PM.
Yeah, I would say no. I mean, like, if someone offered me that job, I would not do it.
But can the people still elect you? Can they still, or it's not like that?
Yeah, it's not really. No, it's not really like that. I mean, it'd be very hard. I could. I mean, it is possible to start a political party and win seats in parliament, but in order to be the prime minister, you would have to win like just this massive majority of votes. It would be crazy.
So it's not like the other election process where you were talking about the 7 parties where they each like had a percentage value.
Yeah, it is that.
So he'd have to essentially be elected to parliament against his will. Then then his party or whatever would have to decide like he is going to be the prime minister against his will.
And I would have to have over 50%, or you have to create an alliance with some of those other parties to build 50%.
Yeah.
In order to become prime minister.
All right.
You kind of want it.
Very
I
unlikely.
kind of feel like Sweden's not the kind of country where they would elect an American-born person to be PM.
No, they wouldn't.
But
they never would.
Yeah,
but you get to meet the king. You know, there's the good side. You can meet the king.
You know what? I don't think I actually really want to meet him. He seems like kind of a.
Is he a dick?
Yeah, he's kind of gross. He's like, you know, he's.
Have you been to his house?
Yeah, I've been to his house on Drottningholm. But I don't know. I'm not impressed with the king. I think he's a little gross.
I mean,
what about the queen, the future queen? What about
you
her?
know what? I have it on good authority that the queen is kind of a bitch.
Really?
I know people who have met her and they're like, she's a bitch.
I mean, how could you not be a bitch when you grow up with that sort of opulence in your life, though? How could you be normal? I don't even know.
Paris Hilton has an excuse. No.
Well, but this is the thing. Like when it's generational wealth, you have zero role models to show you what it's like to be a.
I think she grew up in Brazil.
Yeah, she's not even. Yeah,
the queen grew up in Brazil.
Oh, the queen. Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's not even Swedish. Or
but she probably grew up in Brazil in a boarding school, not like around normal people.
She's too much of a blackhead to be the queen. I think there's going to be some pushback on her.
She's not very friendly, I don't think.
Well, that sucks.
So I'm not interested in the royal. I think the royal family is a waste of money.
Yes.
I don't quite understand why Swedish people like in a country that's so practical with their finances. Right? I have no idea why they waste it on a royal family. It makes no sense to me.
Now I have asked. So we have a friend that streams on YouTube. Her name is Steph the Alternate. She's British and she streams about the British royal family. And when we were talking with her, I was asking about, sort of the king and things, and why do you think British people want to pay you this money essentially to support a family that does absolutely nothing to any sort of legitimate ends? And she said there's something to be said about separating the executive office from the rest of government. It's a figurehead, a lot like the presidency is. It's a figurehead, but it takes it out of the political role, and it's just basically a entity in which the people can unite behind and things like that. Do you think there's any value to that in Sweden? Do you think they look at that?
No, I think most people in Sweden don't give two shits about the royal family.
I think they don't like to cause trouble. They don't want to they don't want to rock the boat. That's
the Swedish royal family now does a pretty good job of staying out of trouble, but the king was the one who used to always get in trouble. The king has had multiple well-publicized sexual affairs.
He has a lot of baby mamas.
I don't know about that, but he definitely got involved in a bit of a scandal in Atlanta, where I'm from, during the Olympics. apparently was a customer of one of the strip clubs there that was like renting out their girls for more than lap dances, if you know what I mean.
So the allegation goes.
Yeah, but there's also one confirmed allegation in Sweden of him having a sexual affair with a pop star sometime in the, I think it was in the late 90s or early 2000s. He slept with
the thing is then you got to like roll in the whole Epstein thing and all of that. That just sounds dangerous.
Yeah. I'm not a huge, the royal family doesn't really, the royal family does not have the same kind of popularity and attention that they get in the UK, I don't think.
Yeah.
In Sweden. I think there's a lot of people who love the royal family, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I think most people in Sweden don't like to talk about how much they love the royal family because they find it a little embarrassing.
Right. Also, I just do feel like they just are more modest, like country in general seems like
I was going to say, is it that or they just don't talk about anything?
Yeah, they don't want to air their dirty laundry like that. Like,
It's true. They don't want to air their dirty laundry. You're 100% correct.
I am on bag 11 of my R2, by the way, so I can show you guys what I got going on here.
Yeah.
So he's got like a leg and a half, and he's got a little head.
Oh wow!
How we doing, Valhalla?
He
just muted himself. He's just trying to build and get up.
He's there. I see him.
I'm on bag 7, and it's getting a little complicated on me.
Really? Whoa! Wait, everybody, stop the presses. This is Lego Libations history in the making. I've never heard Valhalla Awaits say something got complicated.
It's just not a little complicated. We had to find a piece or two. We're good now.
It is not the easiest build. I will say
it's
that.
not. Really? It all meshes together like exactly so. And if you get something wrong, it takes a minute to figure it out.
This is why I don't like sewing. If you don't do everything correctly, nothing's going to come out well.
I can kind of show my build now. Hopefully we do it this way. But yeah, no, this is not the easiest of builds. This is fairly complicated.
Interesting. So
Skip, how are you coming along with your airport bastardized or not airport?
I'm extending the body now. We're gonna go this way.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
We're getting there.
A set of Legos.
You should make a short. You should make a little short about your Lego build, Skiff.
Exactly.
So I have a question for you because I know you're a writer.
Yep.
And David told me if I wanted to keep my job as MC of Lego, I have to start asking questions from this particular game. David, how do you pronounce this?
I don't know. It's Danish.
It's Danish.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
okay. No, first of all, I said if you want to keep your job, you got to start asking questions.
Well, so my question to you.
Yeah.
What word or phrase do you think you overuse, or do you tend to overuse?
That's a
good question.
I thought it was a good question for you in particular.
All writers have that word that's their phrase that's a go-to.
Dag nabbit.
I know. Mine, by the way, was however. When I would be in college and I would get critiqued on my writing, it was always I overused however.
I always use furthermore way too much in my legal briefs.
I feel like I use the word literally too much in order to like make my point more
emphatic,
more valid than it actually is.
Yeah, I love that. And it's also very 2024 of us to use that word too much, literally.
Yeah.
Well, I think that has a different meaning now, doesn't it? Didn't Rachel Maddow change
According
the
to
definition?
Rachel Maddow,
I didn't hear about that. Tell me.
It doesn't mean literally anymore.
Oh, because it's overused.
She got sued for something she said, and she
said she said Trump's campaign from 2020 was literally Russian propaganda or Russian paid for propaganda.
Oh, okay.
And she was sued.
And then
over
she
that.
got sued.
It was like, her whole show is editorial, so it literally doesn't mean literally.
Yeah.
Like
nobody could believe that she literally meant literally when she said
like Matt
literally.
says, I think literally should only be used when it means literally.
I should go. Maybe I should go the other direction and just start using the word figuratively.
There you go.
There you go. I like that. I
Then
like
they
that.
know where you're coming from. That's great.
I am
that's funny.
figuratively pissed off right now.
So
That's
I
amazing.
have, since I know you're a father of two, and you
Yep.
seem like, by the way, you do seem like, objectively
I'll be
speaking,
right back, guys.
you seem like somebody who really enjoys parenting.
Mm.
What can we learn from children?
He
Is my
said,
next
I don't know if enjoy is the word I would have used, but yeah.
Well, no, he does not. This is the thing about parenting. We don't enjoy every day ever, but some of us, I think, enjoy parenting more than others. And I feel like, first of all, I think, wouldn't Skiff be like a cool dad? Like, I feel like he'd be the coolest dad. But what do you think we can learn from children, Skiff?
Oh my God, I learn so many things from my kids every day. Like they teach me all the like the things that people are saying, like all the hashtags and the abbreviations and whatnot. Like I learn all that kind of stuff from them. I also learned probably the thing that I feel like I learned from them, or the thing that gives me the most joy is learning about like how much smarter they are than I ever was at their age. Like they've seen, in one way they haven't been through half of the things that I've been through as far as, difficulties and whatnot. But at the same time, they're more like kind of, they're more emotionally centered and stable than I ever was at their age. I think that maybe that comes from living their lives under the microscope to a certain extent for so many years. Like growing up in the social media era has just sort of, they're just different types of people, I think. But I feel like I get so much joy from knowing that there's so much, like I just feel like they're light years ahead of where I was when I was at their age to a certain extent.
Well,
I don't know.
I would argue that that's a product of the environment, right? So like, and maybe let me think that thought through a little bit better before I say it out. Yeah.
Are they going
so
into
like
the family? Oh, sorry. I thought
good.
you needed a second. I was jumping in with a question. Go ahead.
Well, so you're basically, it shows to me that you've set your children up to be in a safe and
yes, thank you. I was going to say that.
Growing environment, learning, and you know what I mean? It's a nurturing situation that you provided.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing. I'm for it, man.
And for those of us who grew up with traumatic childhood, I think that we try harder. If we're effective parents, we try harder to create a not so traumatic childhood for our kids, which actually statistically, scientifically helps improve their brain, like to be smarter and wiser and healthier and more able to learn. Because it's hard to learn, it's hard to create when you're in trauma.
100%.
Yeah. I always reminded my kids throughout their teenage years, whenever they would make a mistake, just to take pressure off of them, I would always say, you haven't even come close to scratching the surface of how fucking stupid I was at your age. So don't worry about it. You're fine. You fucked up. We'll fix it. We move on. It's all good.
Mistakes will be made.
Yeah.
My son, I always get on my son for his grades. Yeah. And there's a common story amongst the family that I failed my way through high school. Like they basically pushed me out because they were done with me. And then I went on to college and law school and did absolutely fine on my own when I actually studied stuff I wanted. But so my son, when I get on him about grades, he's like, well, you graduated with D's. And I said, you got to try to do better than me. You should be, more successful than I was. You don't want to aim for my level of success. Right? You want to, aim higher. So that was always my thing.
I love that. Iris says, I tell my kids my job was to just take them messed up less, and their job is to teach their children mess up less. It's layers.
Yeah.
And Casper says, so stable parents produce stable kids? Like, geez. Who
Shocking development.
Oh, I don't know if I'd call myself stable, but yeah, sure.
This is what I like to say. Effective is to me, that's a more non-judgmental term. It's more like effective, meaning like, you whatever your rules are in your house, you maintain them. Because good and bad parenting, to me, I don't even use those words because it's crap.
I think, rather than stable parenting, I think I would probably argue is like thoughtful parenting. Because I can honestly say that even when I was in my early 20s, before I got married and before I had kids, I put a lot of thought into what kind of parent I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because I came from such a weird sort of traumatic childhood, I was like, I have to figure out some kind of way to maybe I'll just do the opposite of what happened to me in some respect. Or I didn't have like a clear philosophy of what I wanted to do. I knew more what I didn't want to do rather than what I actually wanted to do, I think.
I can relate to that.
That's something you only get from growing up in a difficult situation, I think.
Yeah.
So is your wife in the industry too? Like, are your kids raised around the whole industry?
Yeah, she's an actress. She was in the show.
Well, yeah, not so much anymore. She, when we moved here and we had our second kid, she went to nursing school and became a nurse.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
So somebody had to have a real job, and she did that, thankfully, because I couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So she works primarily as a nurse at the neonatal unit here in Stockholm. So she works with mostly like premature and like sick babies and stuff like that.
Wow.
That's a rough one.
She's the real hero. I always like, it's funny. As I was getting all this attention for like making We Got This, I was just like, I feel like such a fraud. Like, you save babies.
Like, my wife's a neonatal nurse, and I just write
movies. You're saving babies, and like people are sending me awards. I'm like, this is absurd. Right? This makes no sense.
That's awesome.
But in that way, isn't the industry in general that absurd? Like we hail these people as these things that they're not saving lives. Well, maybe. I don't know.
One of my favorite books is a biography about Alfred Hitchcock, and the title of the book is called "It's Just a Movie." It's like,
that seems really cool to those of us who are lay people, like we're not in your industry, is that many of us have either been to college or high school dreams, or we acted like, I don't know, I was Rizzo in Grease once. Like, so for those of us who've had like their toes dipped a little bit into some of those things,
she was Rizzo,
right?
I was really good at this. So like, I think that for those of us who like we've had that fantasy, like one day I'll be this, or so I think for people that have succeeded in your industry, and I do think of you as a successful person in your industry, it's that you embody the dreams that we had that we didn't think we could do because we had to pay bills or we weren't good enough. Some of us just weren't good enough to be.
Well, for anyone who's sitting at home thinking that, I can tell you it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Great. Tell us.
Yeah. It's still probably the greatest thing my kids ever said to me was when I asked them, I said, do you guys have any idea what you want to do when you grow up? And they said, we don't know, but we definitely don't want to do what you do. It's probably one of the happiest moments of my life because I just like,
thank you.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not like going down into the coal mines every day. So I'm not trying to say it's that big of a deal, but it's like, yeah, it's a real struggle to stay in this business as, you're always on unstable ground. The floor is always shifting on you. What people want is always changing and the industry, you always got new people coming in thinking, that they've got their finger on the pulse. And it's like, you go through periods where suddenly you feel like, okay, well, why is nobody, you go for like 6 months and like nobody returns your phone calls. And then all of a sudden your phone starts ringing off the hook. And it's just like, it's just a weird kind of place to be, when
the poker's hot or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Again, I'm not, it's not rocket science. I'm not working in the fucking coal mine.
Well, there's just so much out of your control, I feel like, in your industry.
It is.
So you could be the best actor on the planet. You could be a genius writer. You could whatever, all the things. But so much, like you said, the climate matters. Who's in charge matters. Gatekeepers matter.
Gatekeepers are the worst.
Do you think the industry is different in Sweden or Europe in general as opposed to the U.S., or is it pretty much the same?
I think it's actually becoming more similar. It used to be different, but now it's becoming more similar. And I think that's probably, that's also another example of the Americanization of Sweden for sure, because, for a good 5 to 6 years now, I think, we've had Netflix, Netflix has opened offices, local offices all over Europe, including in Sweden, as has HBO, Amazon, who are purchasing and paying for the development of local content. So that new wave of the streaming services coming into the scene has created a situation where it's a lot more like the US, where it's a little more celebrity driven. It's a little more, who's going to be in the show, who's writing it, who's doing this, who's doing that, all that kind of stuff. Who's hot, who's not, like that's becoming
like
that didn't used
more
to be a problem
Hollywood
in Sweden. That didn't used to be a big thing in Sweden, but now it is more so.
I always like the geographic region of Sweden that's populated by people is roughly the same size as Michigan, and the population is roughly the same size as Michigan. And so I always looked at it, when people were like, "Oh, that's a major celebrity in Sweden," I'm like, "Okay, yeah." I know my local news reporter too. But is
did you just call him a news reporter? What the hell is that, bro?
but then you realize that
Dan Atkinson, Channel 3.
Like Europe is really sort of the focus, and not so much just one country itself. So like the market, I should say, is Europe, not just Sweden.
For me, it winds up being a bit of an advantage because as an American, like I don't look at any of these Swedes as being too famous. None of them really. Like I'm like, I don't care who you are. Like I come from the U.S. Like
we've got real
Tom
stars.
Cruise walks through the door. I don't give a fuck who you are. So pretty much everybody is like one phone call away. So if I need to call somebody, I can make one phone call and then get that person's number, and then boom, you're there.
That's cool. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it's not that, celebrity culture is not quite as intense here as it is back in the States.
Not yet.
Well, and that's what I was kind of getting at is like, are they like, there's no Tom Cruise of Sweden kind of thing.
There are people who think they are, but no, there's not.
Okay, we'll leave names off the table for the moment.
Oh, come on! I want
do you
names.
hang out? Do you hang out with other Americans in Sweden, or are you hanging out primarily?
Oh, I like that question.
Okay, so sometimes. So okay, yes, I have. We have a group of people that we hang out with periodically who are, it's usually American guys who are married to Swedish women. And we usually get together and celebrate 4th of July, or we celebrate Thanksgiving together and that kind of stuff. But one of my closest friends is a guy that I met a couple of years back, is a dude from Miami. And he and I started a podcast where we do a podcast about NFL football for a Swedish audience.
That's so cool.
That's cool. Why do I not have a link to that yet?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I don't know. It's called Sven FL, like Sven FL.
Okay.
What platform?
And his name is Jonathan Rollins. He's from Miami, so he's a Dolphins fan. I'm from Georgia. I'm a Falcons fan.
It's on Spotify. I just found it.
Yeah, and every week we do a breakdown of the games and that have been played, and we just talk about football. Sometimes we talk about food. Sometimes we talk about life, all that stuff too.
I just put it in the chat. I also put it in the private chat for you, Valhalla.
Awesome.
And I'm going to share the screen because this is awesome. So here we go.
I love that so much. The NFL is such an American centric, it's just
Yeah.
I don't even watch football, but if I was in a foreign country for 18 years and I was homesick, I would turn on a football game and all these cool memories, my childhood would just come. The sounds alone would come.
No, you're right. I kind of, to be honest with you, I kind of drifted away from American football for quite a while.
Same.
And then I moved here. Partly of how I got dragged back into it was because my son started playing Madden on PlayStation.
Nice.
And he became so interested and knowledgeable about the league just through playing that game that it kind of reawakened my interest in it. And he and I started watching it together. And we started playing this game shortly after sadly, about a year or 2 years before We Got This, my father passed away from a brain tumor. And you start to remember things that you forgot about your childhood when things like that happen. And my father and I used to play this game when I was a kid where we would open up the Sunday paper. We would look at all the games that were going to be played that day. And I would flip a coin. Whoever won the coin toss got to pick the first game. Who do you think's going to win? And then he would pick the next one, and then we would just alternate and go down the whole list of games that were being played that Sunday. And we would keep track of the whole season, like who had the most right. And so my son and I started playing this game together. And then my wife and my daughter were like, what's this game? We want to play this game too. And so then they jumped into it.
Cute.
And they didn't know anything about football. Like they literally picked their favorite teams based on the helmet. You know, like, oh, that helmet's cool. My daughter's a Bengals fan because she likes the Bengals helmet.
That's so cute. I'm a Bengals fan because they have the same high school colors as mine. So that's the only reason. Yeah.
And my wife became a Tennessee Titans fan because she fell in love with Derrick Henry.
Cute.
Understandable. He's a stud.
Yeah, he's a badass.
By the way, I'm obsessed with Sam Ficker. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's an Australian diver, like Olympic diver. Yeah. This year he just commentated, but he was in the previous Olympics, and I'm just obsessed with him right now. Side note, not that anyone cares.
Yeah,
I put a link to the podcast, by the way, in also the channel description. So if you're watching this on rewatch and not the live stream,
please click over.
Yeah.
So Skiff, who in your family has a person, and I'm talking not your family of origin, but your wife and your children, who has a personality that is least like everyone else's?
Oh, that would be my son, 100%.
Oh, why?
He's I think he might be the most well-adjusted member of our family. I really do. I think he's so, like, his mood, it never goes too high and never goes too low. It's just like steady as she goes. Whereas me, my wife, and my daughter, we can go like a fucking EKG monitor, like zip, 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 zip. Like, you know, we get excited, we get angry, we get crazy, we get passionate. Like he's just like,
what a lucky guy to be. I wonder what that would feel like to just be cool all the time.
Sometimes I wonder if he's my son. Actually, I'm just like, how did he wind up so?
Do you have mailmen in Sweden?
We do, yeah. We have quite a few mailmen.
Mas says your son is
going to go have a conversation with his wife immediately.
He actually reminds me a lot of my wife's father. He has a similar personality.
Nice.
Very calm, very level-headed. I mean, he still gets excited about certain things, but he's not as manic as the rest of us.
I love that.
Valhalla,
I love that for him.
You should be done. You started like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
It was last week, not 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
It was last
David,
week.
that looks really cool.
I started it in support of our guest.
You did.
And then I also got...
Once in a while, David's a really nice host.
Now I can focus on our guest. I'm done building.
When he's not calling our guests weathermen.
Well, that's what I think of. Like when I actually look at the population, it was like it's 10 million. That's like okay, like Stockholm is Metro Detroit. All right.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people.
No, it's not. But what's cool is okay.
It's not a race. There's no winners or losers. We're all winners here.
Here's where I was going with that. How often do you hang out with Will Ferrell?
Never.
No.
Is he in Sweden?
Yeah.
Well, he's married to a
He
Swede. I've never met him.
Oh wow.
He lives.
He would
Well,
love
I don't
you.
know if he lives all the time, but he's got a place in those islands around Stockholm, whatever. You know,
the
where rich people
archipelago.
live. Yeah.
I didn't know he was living in Sweden.
He lives in Los Angeles most of the time, but yeah, he has a place here. His wife is Swedish.
Oh, okay.
He's
Apparently being American and marrying a Swedish woman is like the in thing. So
well, look, I just want to know when you're an American woman, what's the in thing for us to marry? Because
the better
Latinos.
question that I always have is actually almost exclusively the couples that I know. It's always an American guy married to a Swedish woman.
Always.
So I've never actually met a Swedish man married to an American woman.
I'll try it.
And it makes me wonder, I think there might be something wrong with Swedish men.
Oh,
Like they're not pulling them in like the women do somehow.
True.
Yeah, I was trying to think of all the people, all the Swedes that I know. None of the men are married to American women.
But I find that a lot in most foreign countries. Like I feel like a lot of American men marry foreign women, but I don't see a lot of American women marrying foreign men. And I just want to put it out there, since we're on the internet for the world to see, I'm open to marrying a foreigner. Just saying. And I don't need anything.
As a side note, Valhalla and I were in a group chat or a group text because we do all this. So we got a message from Wendy saying, "Hey, this guy could be good for a Lego stream. He does all kinds of Lego stuff." And we're like, "Wendy, where did you find this guy? What do you know about him?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know anything yet. I'm looking." It was from a dating app.
Wendy,
but Skip, you'll appreciate this. This is really cool. This guy built an entire nonprofit organization surrounding Lego. So he supports people that create Lego for blind kids. So
it was a pretty cool little
situation. It really cool. It was just the fact that she found it on a dating site.
Wait, so Valhalla says, wait, what did you say, babe? I gotta look it up. It's hilarious. So I've been married and divorced a lot. Yeah. So Valhalla
5
basically
times,
said
6 times?
something like, yeah, what did he say? Like, quit
I was
picking your
starting
head.
to pick up on that.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm an ethical marrier.
Okay.
I believe in
describe that.
I believe in
more. What does that mean?
prenuptial. I believe in you come with what you leave with what you came with. Both people.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Like I make them sign prenups. I will sign prenups. And I love love. And I think that everyone should fall in love a bunch of times if they can. And it's not my fault. Okay,
Sure.
it's totally my fault. It's totally my fault that my marriage just didn't work out. But look, I haven't given up on love, and I'm happy to try again. That's all I'm
What
saying.
did I say? It was
I'm here
though.
for you. I mean, I'm rooting for you for sure.
I think you should write a movie about that.
Wendy's never met a man that she didn't immediately fall in love with. That's her problem.
I feel like it's almost criminal how lucky I was to have.
Yeah, you
married.
were really lucky. You were really
Can I
lucky.
say this about Swedish women? At least my wife and the others that I've met, at least the other sane ones that I met. They're very realistic. You know, when we talk about Sweden or, like not talking to your neighbors, they don't want to get messed up in someone else's drama.
Yes.
When you're talking to a Swede, they are very straightforward with you. They will tell you exactly what you think. There's no game playing. There's no hiding the ball. If you want to know what a Swedish woman thinks, she's going to tell you.
You know what's funny? My family my daughter sucked us into this TV show, Love is Blind. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I love that show. Oh, I love
it. We've seen the American one, obviously. But they did a season here in Sweden as well.
I've seen it.
And the thing that was the most fascinating about watching the Swedish version after having watched the American one was just to notice the cultural difference between, especially with the women, right? Because a lot of the women in America, like when they're on Love is Blind, they're like, oh my God, I've been planning for my wedding since I was 4 years old, like la 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 la. But these Swedish women, they're like, okay, so you said yes to marrying him. Are you gonna? And they're like, we'll see.
Those are my girls, right?
It's 3 weeks until you guys are supposed to get married. Are you nervous? Yeah, we'll see. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like to your point, like there's so much more realistic. They're like, yeah. We'll see if that happens.
I look, when I was young, I was not practical. It was pre-therapy, Wendy. I wasn't great with my money. I wasn't great with my emotional intelligence, and I'm different now. So I think I would find a more suited person. So hopefully that would be the last one. And if it's not,
also now you have Valhalla to scare people away. So that helps. That helps.
Amen, brother. That's right.
I'm trying to find the Swedish TV show that I was watching a few weeks ago with Nick when he was here on SVT. I can't find it, but it's called Short Kings. Have you ever watched that?
Can we get STV here?
So it's about Swedish women that like shorter men, and because Swedish women are generally one of the tallest in the world. Yeah, right? I know, right? But I feel like if you're gonna find a Swedish woman that well, I guess no, that's the reverse. Damn it! I was trying to think of like Swedish men marrying American women. No, that would be the reverse. Damn it. That's what I was thinking of though. Is this reality show? But apparently, this is a trend now: a Swedish women liking short men. In the men.
My dad likes taller women.
That nail these.
Does it say why they like them? Is it because they like to sort of keep them as like pets or something? Or what?
You know, it didn't really.
Carrying them around.
Oh, here it is.
Like, oh, come here, baby, come here, so cute.
I can't play it.
That's great.
Because we'll get.
I could say something inappropriate right now about why I would think that's true, but I'm not going to say it right now. Just think about where the male gaze goes. You know.
Oh, you think it's because they're staring at your tits all the time?
Yeah.
Do girls like it when guys stare at their tits?
When guys were in love, we like it when guys we're in love with stare at our boobs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
So here's the show.
It's just not like random guys staring at your tits. You don't like that.
Yeah, no, that's just nasty. I don't like
it. Look at the pose. Look at the eye level where he's at.
See, you got a point. He's right there.
Yeah.
Telling you.
This is an actual Swedish reality show.
I can't speak for all straight women, but most straight women I know like it when our men, the men we want attention from, are like the way we look.
Yeah.
Skiff, how tall are you? Are you your wife's height? Are you taller than her?
I think we're basically the same height. I think I might be an inch taller than her.
See, I'm the exact same height as my wife, and when she puts heels on, she's taller than me, obviously. And I kind of like it. I'm cool with it.
I'm here for it. I think it's hot.
Yeah, I do too.
I got no problem
with
it.
Look at what I got.
I'm like, what's up?
I'm only 5'1", so it's not going to be likely I'll find a guy shorter than me or even my height.
You'd have to be a midget.
He would.
Or a little person, or I don't know what you're supposed to say, but
what's the? Oh, I've been watching Game of Thrones. That guy's kind of hot.
Speaking of midgets,
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
What's his name again, speaking of incest and full frontal male nudity.
I'm also for the incest. I'm liking the incest.
So what is official take?
It's the game the whole family can play. That's all I'm saying.
Game the whole family can play. Jesus, Wendy, I love that.
Oh my God.
Oh, I need another beer for this.
It's only socially unacceptable. It's not like the law of nature ever said you can't do it.
That is absolutely stunning. I love that phrase. I'm stealing that.
Oh my God.
Jude Curio's wife is 4'11". She's shorter than me. I love that so much.
Whose wife?
Jude Curio's wife is 4'11".
Oh,
so I know I asked you this and it was a cold no. It was a very quick no about the second season of We Got This. I don't know how. I'm not like an intellectual property attorney, or I don't do any of that stuff. Is there a possibility of you writing something similar and producing, like you said, you talked about a movie and things like that? Is it possible to kind of go around the networks that picked up on it, or via Play and things like that, or do they just own the whole idea at this point?
No, they don't. I mean, I think probably the safest thing to do would be, you could create something very similar, but you just would have to populate the idea with different characters.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. I
change enough of it.
As soon as you change the characters, the idea is kind of different. Like I could rewrite the whole show with different characters, and that would be a totally different show.
Okay.
And you couldn't get sued for like it would be fine. You could just
Well, that's how we. I mean, it's.
But I'm so
think of
obsessed with the character.
Yeah.
Think of it like our copyright issues.
Well, one of the ideas that did get presented to me while I was working on the show, and especially when I was like pitching it around Europe, people came up to me and said, "Hey, we have a weird political murder that happened here in France. Like, when you're done solving that case, you could come here and solve this one." So the idea of like taking that character and creating maybe a modern day Inspector Clouseau kind of,
that would be awesome. This guy right here is a crime solver.
Please.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Because then you could
That'd be
take
super
all your
awesome.
characters with you. And to me, my favorite character is you. So you get to still be that character. I love that. Oh, please do it. Please. I'm begging.
what was it that made you so attracted to that particular character?
Okay. Where should I start? First of all, he's smart AF, right? He's a smart dude.
Right.
And I'm also obsessed with like living in a foreign country as an American.
Right.
So that appealed to me. I also, okay, this is going to sound a little creepy, but I kind of stalk Dave. I'm sort of a stalker of David. I know it's weird, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Because I'm a stalker of David, I enjoy hearing about his family dynamics, and he's married to a Swedish woman. So I've already been introduced to like an American guy with a Swedish lady. And so that interests me like on a personal level, but also, okay, so the character's smart. He's super like unwitting. Like it's like he didn't choose to be there.
Right.
He found a cat. For those of you who haven't seen the show yet, he found a cat in the woods. Not the woods, but everything looks like the woods to me because I live in suburbia. But like he found a cat and was returning the cat to the cat lady. And so it's unwitting. He's intelligent. He's so funny. And by the way, funny men are like the most attractive to me. Like anyone that can make me laugh, I'm yours. Like I love comedy, and it's dark, and it's about a murder. Like somebody was murdered. It's such a serious topic, and it's a prime minister.
I want to play the trailer. That's up on YouTube. This is.
Can you?
I think this is Sundance. I don't think we'll get into trouble. I want to play the trailer. Yeah, we'll take a chance. And if it all goes to hell, it goes to hell. But the one thing that I liked most about the character is that we talk about it here in the trailer, so I don't think there's any spoilers. He owed a bunch of money in back taxes to the government, and he was trying to find a way out of paying this. Like
As based on a true story. That's kind of where I came up with the idea.
So let's play this is a couple minutes. Let's play this.
Yeah.
This is not a funny letter. Det här är kravbrev, crave letter. Du är skyldig staten pengar och nu vill de att du betalar tillbaka.
So I'm screwed. Is that what you're telling me?
Du måste ha en plan B nu, George. Some B-plane here is necessary.
By the way, that look. I just love that look with the. Like,
He
the
actually, I didn't write that. He made that up. That guy was great. He was
the actor, like the B plan.
Yeah.
Plan B.
When we got on the set, like obviously we had a script, but I told all the actors, I was like, look, if you think you can say something funnier than what I wrote, go for it, man. That's the kind of thing we're doing here. Like just bring it, you know. And he brought it.
Awesome.
It was great.
I felt like there was a lot of impromptu action.
Oh yeah, hi. This whole 50 million Swedish crown reward for anyone who captures the killer. Are you guys firm on that number?
Min pappa har blivit intresserad av mordet på Olof Palme.
They've been trying to solve this fucking case for 30 years. You're unqualified. Fuck, you don't even speak the goddamn language. You're just gonna solve it for him.
Yeah, I think I can.
All right.
What? What do you think, Abba?
Jag tror han blev skjuten.
February 28th, 1986. Sweden's Prime Minister Olof Palme exits the Grand Cinema. A man steps out of the shadows and fires a shot that would change Sweden forever. After a brief chase from a witness, the killer vanished into the night, never to be seen again. Case is fucked up.
De vill att du ska tro att det är ett simpelt svar på vem som mördade Palme. Att det handlar om en person. Att det handlar om en teori. Men det handlar inte om en person. Det handlar inte om en teori. Det är verkligen inget simpelt svar. Det är ett väldigt komplicerat svar. Very complicated.
You said they. Who the hell are they?
sluta och gräv i det här.
You actually think that you can solve the murder of Olof Palme, George?
I'm not chasing a ghost here, okay? We found something. Something real. I don't know what it is. I'm getting ready to find out.
Okay, the only issue I have to take with this whole show is that the forensics regarding the tool marking is
clearly.
Yeah.
Men vem älskar inte en konspiration, eller hur? Det är true crime.
Gud, så kul.
It's so good.
It's such a good show.
I hadn't seen that in a while. That's funny.
Yeah, that's great. It's anyone who's watching this right now and hasn't seen the show, we need to find a way to get you the show. I had to get it on DVD. I just looked on Sundance. I couldn't find it. It might be region blocked. That was one of the issues is I think it's region blocked because I was able to find it when I was in Sweden and watch it again. But I couldn't find it here. But you can order the DVD. Just get a DVD player, think of it as nostalgia. Go back to hard media.
Hopefully Skiff gets royalty points.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'll be right
back.
So okay, so the thing is so the guys what's his name? Is it not Olaf, the guy who wrote the book, the character that wrote the book in your show.
Oh yeah, Bjorn.
He talks about the pyramid, and you guys only scratch the surface of the pyramid. But understanding that, a lot of people didn't like him. I feel like the CIA might have had a hand in this. The American government hated him before he became prime minister. Apparently, I didn't know that. But
it's certainly similar. The theory is made plausible to a certain degree by the fact that we know for a fact that the U.S. government has assassinated various people in different parts of the world, and this is usually how they do it. They create enough distance between them and the actual assassination itself to where it can't really be traced back to them necessarily, so that there's at least enough plausible deniability to where they can go, oh, we didn't know that was happening.
Are you a conspiracy kind of guy, or you like this kind of stuff, this sort of topic at all?
I would describe myself as a rather reasonable conspiracy theorist. Like I'm not somebody who believes anything unless I think that there's some actual factual information to back it up.
I believe it all. Everything.
Good but very long book regarding the creation of the CIA and its hand all the way up into about the JFK assassination.
I know
this is
book.
based.
It's a great book. The
What
Devil's
is it?
Chessboard.
That's exactly what I was going to pull out. Have you read it?
I have read this book. It's a great book.
I've read it a few times. I tell everyone to read this book. You need
It is
to read
one of
this
the best books I've ever read. It's so good.
Once
what
you
is it
get
exactly?
to the Devil's Chessboard, this is about
Rise of America's Greatest Government.
Alan Dulles, who formed the CIA. So he was basically friends with a bunch of bankers and heading up the financial exchange between Germany and Europe for war reparations up until World War II. And then during World War II, he sort of started doing this counterintelligence thing. He was still in Europe, still working in Europe. And he made a lot of powerful friends. And then his little organization turned into the CIA. And so when the British oil industry needed a little help in establishing oil claims in the Middle East, guess who they called, and guess who overthrew governments in the Middle East? Alan Dulles, running the CIA. And he was eventually ousted. The first president to say no to him was JFK, and he was booted from his job. And guess who headed up the investigation into the JFK assassination? Alan Dulles. So it's a really good book. It takes you all the way from pre-World War II, like reparations of World War I, all the way up through the JFK assassination in the formation of modern CIA and essentially the deep state. It's a very good book.
The fact that Alan Dulles was hired to work on the Warren Commission is one of the most bizarre things that's ever happened in American history, and so many people aren't really familiar with it.
Right? Okay, so we all follow, like a lot of people that are in chat follow trials that we watch, right? And the number one person that's like that's targeted if someone turns up dead is the one with like the most likely motive. And in this situation, you have the person with the most likely motive who's heading up the investigation.
That's how you get away with murder, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, Lee Harvey, he acted on his own.
Yeah.
Hey, I would love to see you do a riff on the JFK assassination and turn that into a show. That would be
Yeah,
amazing.
me too. I tried to pitch it to my agent in the States, and he didn't want to do it. So I was
Get a new agent. We don't like him. Get a new one.
Yeah, I kind of don't like him either, actually. I don't like him either.
That
guy. Did you
I love you, Valhalla.
any chance we could see the trailer that you put together to sell your
Oh yeah, do you have that handy?
I mean, if not, no worries. I don't know what proprietary.
Yeah, we don't want
all that stuff, but
put pressure.
I'm trying to think like how. I'm trying to remember where it is.
That's just so you know. We were talking earlier about Skiff put together a trailer of "We Got This" in order to sell it, and it's never been broadcast on the internet or anything like that. It was just basically a marketing tool, an elevator pitch, if you will. And so I was just wondering if that was available.
I mean, you own it, right? You could do what you want with it.
Yeah, I used some footage that I don't own.
Oh.
I stole some drone footage from the internet that it isn't mine, but
I do that all the time. YouTube does.
Yeah, it's no big deal. There's a lot of never mind.
I'll poke around and see if I can find it.
No worries. How you doing, Valhalla, on your build? Oh, I see you got one foot done.
Yeah, we're getting there.
This is an intense build, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
So not for beginners.
1,050 pieces, but it's fairly intense.
So would you say it's not for beginners?
It's not for beginners. No, I would say no.
I've had a lot of it fall apart on me, and I have to restart some issues.
Yeah, that's what John was saying with his owl. It kept falling apart when he was trying to put it together. This is why I think Skiff has he's doing it the right way.
John had a breakdown after our Lego stream. I saw his post.
Bless his heart.
Oh, he was so much fun.
I loved him. You guys were so nice to him, and he had such a good time, and he felt like he was one of the guys, and I love that. That was fun.
Yeah,
it was a good stream.
Yeah.
So all these Americans that you hang out with in Sweden, are they in the industry, or are they just random Americans married? Like I've heard of these American clubs in Stockholm where there's just a bunch of Americans that kind of go and hang out. Is it like that sort of thing, or?
Yeah, I know about those clubs too, but I don't usually hang out with those. I've never been to those. My mother used to go to the American Women's Club or something. But,
oh yeah.
Most of the Americans that I hang out with are not in the industry at all. One guy's an architect, and another guy is like kind of a website dude, and my buddy that I do the NFL podcast with, he's a stand-up comedian.
How do we get that on YouTube? How do we get you to put that podcast on YouTube?
It is on YouTube, actually.
Is it? I just found that.
I couldn't find it.
I think NFL is on YouTube.
I also can't spell.
I think it is.
I've been searching so many things. I got to find it again.
My kids say I'm old because I like YouTube versus like TikTok.
Yeah, apparently YouTube is not the hip thing anymore.
It's not. But you know what I hate about TikTok? So I have the attention span of a gnat, and TikTok has like 2-minute long videos, and I like the 30 seconds that YouTube.
Oh, it's on YouTube. All right, I'm gonna put a link to that in Discord as well. Yeah. So no, it is absolutely on YouTube.
Oh, thank God. I looked for it, but I can't spell. So.
Well, I feel like that's appropriate. There we go. All right.
Oh,
so you
well,
guys can see
I wasn't spelling it correctly. Okay.
There we go.
Not even close.
Nice. So 4 days ago. Oh, you haven't. Okay, so it hasn't been that long. You guys
Dawn,
do this
you better
consistently.
stop.
Well, it's the football season, right? That's appropriate.
Wait, by the
Yeah, that
way,
makes sense.
just Dawn found your she found hold on, I have to
The
go
show?
to my starred comments. Just Dawn, Soulless Ginger, just found your movie, your series. I call it a movie because it seems like a movie, but it's like a movie broken up into like episodes. Anyway, she found it on Amazon, but her VPN was set to Amsterdam and she bought it. She was able to buy it.
Okay. Yes, we gotta get a VPN. Or
I just sent you the original concept trailer on Messenger.
Oh, David, get it. Yeah.
It's, it has like a password. It's all there.
Oh, I'm so
Awesome.
excited.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. Let me see
And
if
I
can
have a
pull this up.
passport. I can go anywhere.
Wendy.
So does Josie, and so does Iris, and somebody else. Oh, Tianena. She's Latina too. She's like, we'll all pass for Italian.
All right, let me
Don't tell
share
her
this.
people because they might get mad at us.
All right, so this is how you sold the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me make sure my
Thank
volume
you,
is up.
Torrin. We love you so much. Wait, I'm going to take this down so we could watch this.
Right. Hear me out. I got an idea.
No. You can't have this, man. You always have ideas.
Yeah,
None
but
of
you
them are
never
good.
said- I haven't even told you the idea yet.
You don't have to tell me the idea.
I'm offering you the opportunity to be a part of this thing.
Nay, I've been working with this fan almost all my life. Stay away, okay?
Oh, hey. Yeah, is this the Palma investigation hotline?
Ja, det stämmer.
Oh, great. Couple of questions. This whole 50 million Swedish crown reward for anyone who captures the killer, what exactly do you need? You need a confession or a guy in handcuffs? Where's the, like the finish line?
That'd be what I'd ask.
Money too, actually, is my other question. Is that something you pay out like all at once or just like a little bit at a time? How's that work?
Har du någon information?
No, not yet. Hello? Hello?
You realize you can't do this without me.
That's my wife.
No! They've been trying to solve this fucking case for 30 years. What? What? You're gonna swoop in?
So this is when it was still like a husband and wife dual team.
Yeah.
That would have been
Uneducated, unqualified, and you're gonna solve it for him? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I can.
Fuck you. Fuck!
Dear citizens of Sweden, we need your help.
George, this is the dumbest idea you've ever
Do a
had.
GoFundMe.
All right, tell me if this makes sense to you. Sitting prime minister, busiest street in Stockholm, gets shot in the back of the head. 30 years later, they still don't know who the hell shot him. How the hell has this gone on for so long? Should we go?
We should go.
Okay, all right.
Let's go faster.
Okay.
I told you stay away.
Yes.
Didn't I do that? What is it som du inte fattar?
I can't do this without you. I can't.
This dude is dead. Yeah?
Yep, that guy's dead too.
Yeah, and that guy, he's definitely dead.
Yep.
What about her?
No, she's not on the list.
Well, she is now.
Hey, are you Ava Persson? So it's not Christian Pedersen?
Nej.
And it's not the CIA?
Nej.
And it's not the South African hit squad?
No, but so who is it? It's like a pyramid. And no person down here, no person can go up on a layer further up than that layer.
So it's like an Illuminati thing?
No. Nay, no. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
There we go.
Yes. Ava, please, just look at this, yeah? Come on, I can't make sense of this autopsy. We need your help, Ava, please.
Det där är alltså den
It's interesting to see the differences between the finished product.
som jag har sparat innan locket lades på.
No. This can't be right.
There's only one way to find out.
Nej, this feels wrong.
You're about to dig up the body of your former prime minister. I'd say that's natural.
Oh, I'm sure they're like, no, we're not doing that.
Det är farliga människor här. You understand?
You could have gotten into that second season.
Yeah.
You don't know anything! This is so much bigger than you think!
You know what this means, right? No. Tell me, what does it mean? It means we're finally getting somewhere. Charge.
That is kind of a
Fuck
serious
you.
Got this.
Yeah, that's how we sold it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would have bought
was
that.
good.
I'd have bought it.
I don't know what a showrunner actually means. I just hear it all the time, but I would be the showrunner for that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like the idea that you were handcuffed to the sign was like in the original script, and like the Illuminati thing was part of the original script. That's awesome. But it's
you are correct that they prevented me from doing the one about digging up the body.
They sure didn't like that, did they?
That was one of the first things they said. They were like, "Yeah, we're not doing that."
So if you talked about this when I just stepped out, I apologize. How they closed the case, correct?
Yeah,
in 2022.
Did they say it was solved or resolved, or they just closed the investigation?
They they closed the case. They did two things at the same time. They basically said, we think we've gone as far as we could possibly go, but then they also said, we think that the most likely killer, they named someone that they thought, like, if this person was still alive today, this would be the person that we would be focusing on. And he was not somebody that most people who pay attention to the Palma case believe had anything to do with the murder. So it was just kind of a bullshit way to close the case.
That's, yeah.
I think they were worried about closing the case. It'd been open for 30 years. They spent a ton of money on it. So the idea that they would just close the case and that was that would have been really
crazy.
Embarrassing to the Swedish police, I think.
Do you think they closed it obviously for embarrassment reasons, but also so they didn't have to pay out the money? Because it's gonna somebody will figure it out, right?
I think really they were just tired of spending money on investigating a case that they knew they were never going to solve.
See, that's the difference I feel like between Sweden and the US. That's one of the differences, is that in the US, like, we have the Tupac, and like the last person that could have had any connection to the Tupac murder has just been charged, so that they can finally close out this case. They got to charge
he probably didn't. It was probably, you know, who.
He was like, at the most, he was the driver of the getaway car after the murder. But somehow we're going to charge this.
Well, we have someone in custody now who probably had more to do with it than anyone else. Just saying.
Who's that? Oh, well, P. Diddy?
I'm not saying it. They know where I live. Nope. I have way too much to lose.
Have you been following U.S. news at all? Like some of this celebrity stuff with P. Diddy and all that? Are you?
Well, I follow U.S. news as far as politics is concerned, but I don't generally get too tangled up in the celebrity stuff. I know that P. Diddy's in trouble, and I know why he's in trouble, but I'm not.
Do you
I'm
know
not clicking.
that he had 782 dildos and 1,000 bottles of baby oil?
I did not know that.
Oh,
I can say this though. I did eat pot brownies with P. Diddy in New York in 1999.
You might want to get checked, babe.
1999. I ate 3 pot brownies with P. Diddy
Well,
at
then,
his
of
birthday
course,
party.
They probably had more.
The
than
next
pot.
question I have to ask is: did you then wake up and didn't know where you were, like immediately following that?
No, I tried to rollerblade home to Chinatown while I was high on 3 pot brownies. It was a real challenge, actually. I worked as a waiter, and we did like it was P. Diddy's birthday party, and I was a waiter for this dinner party. It was P. Diddy, Michael Douglas. It was Cyndi Lauper was there. It was just the weirdest collection of people sitting around this table.
It was the 80s.
And then, of course, after the dinner party, he had like a bigger party with like 300 people. And then that's when the pot brownies. Yeah, that's when the pot brownies came out, and it was pretty high.
That's amazing. As long as you didn't wake up on a mountain of dildos.
Mass, he dodged more than a bullet.
Once the dinner party part was over, my job was done. So, okay. I ate some pot brownies and said goodnight, and then about halfway home, it started to kick in, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm on rollerblades. This could be dangerous."
Yeah.
I hate when I'm on
That's
rollerblades
awesome.
stoned. It's no bueno.
And then your wife is like, "What's wrong with you?" When you got home.
No,
were you dating her at the time?
We had just gotten married, actually.
Oh, you were?
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, we had just gotten married.
That's awesome.
I love that. I love love stories.
That working as a waiter while you're as you just graduated film school and you want to be an actor and that sort of thing.
Yeah, my New York days, it was like I was mostly like writing and acting and making money as a waiter, bartender.
Love it.
Typical
That was
kind of
my
actor
dream
story.
kid. I told my parents one day, this is how delusional I was. I told my parents one day, they were like, "Look, girl, you got to improve your grades. They suck. You need to go to college, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "I don't need good grades." They're like, "Why?" I'm like, "I'm going to Hollywood." Can you imagine?
Yeah.
My poor parents, all their whole life's work gone up in smoke. This dumbass thinks she wants to go to Hollywood.
Do you have anybody in your life, Skip, that were saying like, "What are you doing trying to be an actor?"
Yeah.
That sounds insane.
Yeah.
My father was always a little confused by it. He used to ask me all the time when I lived in New York. He was like, "What am I supposed to tell my friends that you do?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't really care. Like, they're your friends. I don't give a shit what they think."
Love that.
I was like, "Tell them I work for the CIA. Tell them I don't really care. I honestly don't care."
Love that.
Would you like, if I was to ever be an actor, I feel like I could only play myself or a version of myself. I would not be a method actor. I would not be. I couldn't play anyone other than myself.
You're an attorney. You know how to lie. You could do it.
Yeah. Okay, but that's part of myself. Are you able to like put on a persona and act in a way where we would never like recognize your personality?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I did a right after We Got This came out, I was in a Swedish TV series. It was a children's. You're familiar with the children's books, the Lasse detective books?
I'm not. My wife probably is.
No, it's like kind of a Swedish version of like Nancy Drew. It's like kids who solve mysteries in the little town that they live in.
Okay.
And in that show, I played one of the regular characters who lives in the town. I own the hotel, and I speak bad Swedish. That character was, besides the bad Swedish part, that character was nothing like me.
What's the name of the show?
It's called Lasse Maja's Detective Bureau. I don't know how to spell that, but
so I'm going to
type Lasse Maja children's story. You'll probably find it.
So when the very first episode I watched of your show, it sounded, I was doing stuff, like I hadn't sat down like to watch it. I was just doing stuff and had it on. Yep. And it sounded very French to me. Is Swedish close to French, or am I just mishearing things?
I think it's closer to German.
Okay. Yeah. That makes more sense. But it just sounded, I was like, and then I thought maybe he's got French actors in there that are speaking French, because I wasn't sitting to watch the subtitles yet. So I had to restart the whole thing. But
I think it's a lot closer to German.
Okay. So that's Switzerland that has French, right? Not Sweden.
Correct.
And I do apologize for my ignorance.
Now everyone gets Sweden and Switzerland confused. When I first would tell my parents that my wife was from Sweden, they're like, "Oh, whereabouts in Switzerland?" It's like, no, different country.
I used to think that too about Nicholas. I'm like, "Oh, he's from Switzerland. I wonder if he speaks German or French."
When I first moved here, my grandmother was like, "Ooh, can you help me open one of those cool bank accounts they have over there?" I was like, "A bank account?" I was like, "No."
Yeah,
I can't do that.
Thank you, Casper. Las Majas Detective Agency. Kids show? Is it a kids show?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Ooh, Casper's been on point in the chat, putting like things in chat so we could actually read. I'm visual, so like if somebody spells something, I can get it. But if they're just saying it, I can't always understand the.
Oh my God, how do you spell this thing?
Well, according to Casper, LASSEMAJA''S.
All right, let me try that.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's
In
Casper.
English, it
Well,
looks like
we'll take
Laxmi.
Casper's word with a grain of salt. Let me try it here.
I mean, Casper's got a PhD. I'm pretty sure.
Oh wait, Casper's over on Valhalla's. Okay,
oh
let me
yeah.
go
Well,
over
I
there.
have it up.
I just wanted to cut and paste.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Much easier. There we go.
It is
Now I
much
found
easier.
So do you think if you didn't have kids, you would have gone the Swedish route still? Or do you think you would have more likely found yourself in Hollywood?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I was living in LA when we had our first kid, and I was starting to become a little disenchanted with that life. So I think we were kind of two minds. We were either, our plan was we could either move further north towards like Santa Barbara, or maybe we moved to Stockholm. Those were kind of our two options at the time, and we chose to try Stockholm just to see what it would be like to live there. But that's a really good question, because I have a cousin who, she's married, and she and her husband decided before they got married that they didn't want to have kids. And so instead of spending their money on kids, they spend their money on traveling around the world, which I kind of admire and think is pretty cool.
Okay.
It's kind of hard for me to maybe not, actually. I think my answer would be no. I probably wouldn't have even thought of moving to Sweden if I didn't have kids.
Good question.
Is your wife's originally from Stockholm then, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that like, I feel like that's like city, like the city, like it's like San Francisco or New York or.
It is, but it's like, I mean, it's the
No.
biggest city in Sweden, but it's also, there's only 2 million people here. So to me, it feels like kind of a small city.
Right.
In the
It's
whole
a
country?
it's a nice town. I like hanging out and having coffee where a bunch of people were murdered, and that it's not Red Square, but
We don't have murders there.
Oh, in Gamlistan, the the bloodbath. This is an ancient story. This is a story. It was like the Danish murdered a bunch of
Oh well, they're Danish.
Swedish people.
Those damn
Just like back
they were
to-
traitors. They were traitors, Skiff.
Baker.
yeah. Danish traitors.
And now you can sit there and have like a coffee and overlook the square where there's a building with markers for every person who was murdered there. And you're like, oh, I just have my cafe and whatever. My hot dog, that sort of thing.
How's the coffee in Sweden?
Coffee's great in Sweden.
Really?
It depends on where you get it. I'm gonna say that. So if it's drip brewed like the normal style, it's very good. If you get it from like a gas station or McDonald's, I don't like it at all.
Same things here. Yeah.
No, but I like McDonald's coffee here.
Actually, I
don't
like
it there.
7-Eleven coffee. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no. But if you get it, it all comes out of a machine. Is basically what I've learned.
Yeah.
If you're anywhere other than home and coming out of a machine, I don't like it. But if it's drip brewed or the pour over, it's really good.
I love the pour over.
Speaking of which, is it common? Like I have never worked in Sweden, but apparently there's a thing called coffee breaks often in Sweden.
Yeah, the fika.
Yeah, the fika. Is that a common thing?
What?
Like,
Tell us more about this, please.
Yeah, fika is like it's sort of like fika is like an experience. It basically, all fika really means is like you press pause on your day, you sit down with someone else. You can do it by yourself too. And you have a cup of coffee and usually have some kind of something sweet, usually like a little cinnamon bun or something. And you just take a minute. Like I remember when I first met my wife, she used to say, I asked her, I was like, what's the weirdest part for you about living in the States? And she said, coffee to go.
Yeah.
I was like, huh? She was like, the fact that you can go into a place and get a cup of coffee and like, just go. Like, she's like, in Sweden, like, if you want to have a cup of coffee, like you sit down, you take the time and you have a cup of coffee. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And a lot of people still do that. And that's basically fika. When you take the time to actually sit down, have a cup of coffee and just sort of chill out for a second.
I love that so much.
A few weeks ago, I was there staying with my in-laws. My wife, nobody was there except me. And I wanted to get up early and go to this fishing town called Roa.
No.
and I wanted to do some filming there and go to the museum and maybe get some of the fishermen coming in. So I got up like super early and I left before I had coffee or anything. And I'm like, I want to find a place to get coffee on my way there, just a drive-through or a gas station or something, or a cafe. I thought there'd be a cafe there that would be open early and I could get coffee to go. Nothing around. You have to, I had to search, and it took me like an hour out of my way to find a place to go get coffee. So that's interesting. That
Where were you?
It's Roa, the A with the little dot over it. A with the little dot over it. It's a fishing town. It was invaded and burnt down by the Russians a couple of times, but it was on the south end. It's just south of Helsingborg, maybe south on the coast.
I just learned that I kind of kicked Nick's puppy when he was here. He was so excited for me to try his Swedish coffee and he was all into it in the kitchen. And I don't drink coffee. I can't stand coffee.
Oh, I didn't know.
So he's telling me how great the Swedish coffee is and he's getting all into it. And I was just like, yeah, I don't really care, man. Sorry.
Oh,
I have it now. I have it now. Thank you, Valhalla. I have the bag here. I've been making it.
Oh, nice.
Great. It tastes like what my in-laws make.
Sorry.
The Swedish coffee. Okay, so Skiff, what do you eat for breakfast in Sweden?
Don't they eat meat? Don't they eat cold cuts?
Everybody eats meat, Wendy, except for you and your weird Cali friends.
What do I normally eat for breakfast? I mean, people eat a lot of yogurt and stuff like that. I guess.
Is muesli Swedish?
The bread with the butter and the sliced cheese for breakfast.
Yeah.
Is weird,
yeah,
but
I don't do that. That's
okay.
I mean, I do that for a little snack when I get hungry or something. But yeah.
That's a weird thing. My in-laws do it for breakfast. I've asked a few other Swedes, and maybe it's a southern Swedish thing because they're all like, yeah, that's what we have for breakfast. Why?
I think a lot of people do that here too. People do that here too, but I get, if I eat just sliced bread or bread and a slice of cheese for breakfast, I'm starving by fucking 10:30. I'm dying.
Yeah. I need eggs.
You have that American appetite.
Mm-hmm.
We on the weekends here at our house, we do. Usually on Saturday mornings we do American pancakes, and then on Sundays we do waffles, and then sometimes we do brunch.
Kids are growing up with American food then,
last weekend we did brunch. We did poached eggs, eggs Benedict, the whole thing.
See, apparently pancakes are dessert in Sweden, and so when my mother-in-law was here, I'm going to make pancakes. Why are you making dessert for breakfast? Kind of thing.
That's weird.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the whole bacon and eggs thing for breakfast with the side of potatoes is a very American, because there was a guy who basically had a farm that decided to push it as part of a political agenda to sell more eggs and
milk
bacon.
is here. Milk's not really a thing. Scientists don't agree about milk, but Americans push milk.
Oh, do Swedes drink milk? I feel like my in-laws do.
I can't.
Yeah, I feel like they sing. What are you working on there, Schick? How goes your build?
It's going pretty good.
Skiff. I keep calling you the wrong name. Skiff. Shit. Oh my God, Skiff. What the hell? Jesus.
Oh, it's looking good. Oh my God, I love it.
Oh, that's a dangerous maneuver there, sir.
It's Outer World.
I love it.
See, this is classic Lego build.
Oh God, it even has an insignia. City Pizza.
That's awesome.
That's classic Lego build. This is
yes, it is.
This is what Legos were meant to be.
Not the fact he bought it in Sweden is really cool too.
Inside, there's a steering wheel.
That's
nice.
Badass. I love it.
Nice. I like that.
You gotta have a steering wheel.
Well, it helps.
You're just gonna crash if you don't have that.
You're right.
For those who came late, Skiff bought a bag of random Legos from a neighbor at a garage sale, and is what are we doing? There we go.
Sorry, that was
and
me.
is building from that, whatever comes to his mind. Yeah, what's wrong with milk? Madge drinks all kinds of. That's all he drinks is milk.
I'm 10th millionth generation California girl, so not really 10 million because my family doesn't drink. Okay, I was raised that you don't drink the milk from another species. So humans drink human milk, cows drink cow milk, goats drink goat milk. So I don't drink any other species milk. I just wasn't raised that way. And I've tried cow milk.
Hang on. Do you continue to drink human milk now?
That was going to be my question.
Babe, I do not, but I have to. I do like cow. I do like cow chocolate milk. I will drink a chocolate. I don't drink. I don't eat
It
sugar.
comes from brown cows, Wendy.
Well, that's why I like it because my people. But we don't. Nobody in our family drinks any cow milk. We do drink. My dad says technically it's not milk, but we do drink rice and almond milk. But my dad gets mad when we say that's milk because it's not milk, it's juice.
It's not.
It's not milk, it's juice.
Yeah, he's like, that's not milk, you idiots. Like, and I mean, some ways I'm a very prototypical California girl. Like, I don't eat a lot of things that many people eat, although I do love bacon. It's the only pork I eat. I will eat it like once a year, twice a year. I do crave it.
If you don't like bacon, there's something wrong with you.
I do think there might be something wrong. People don't like it. I just can't eat a lot of pork because it makes me swell up and it's too salty for me because I'm not used to it.
By the way, I'm putting in a link in the chat to Skiff's NFL podcast.
Oh, I love that.
From YouTube. So that'll be.
And Shenny, I did see your message to me. And yes, girl, we could hook up. If you're in Discord, send me a message.
I dropped 40 pounds on bacon and eggs. You know, I've been rewatching Arrested Development, and season 3 apparently was the year that everyone was into that anti-carb diet. What the hell is it called?
Oh,
Atkins,
yeah.
the Atkins diet. Oh my God, that brought back so many awesome memories.
Oh my God, I remember that.
I love that show.
That's a great show. I actually reached out to Buster Bluth too to see if he wants to come on for an interview.
I'll make a mac and cheese with real milk.
But that's a great show. By the way, we never acknowledged your shirt.
Cheese is my favorite food group, by the way. So I'm a hypocrite when I say I don't. I don't like the taste of cow milk, but I'm cheese's #1 fan.
Wendy, are you a ray of fucking sunshine?
I'm a ray of fucking sunshine.
That's awesome.
So good.
I want that shirt.
Not as much as Skiff. That would be so ironic for you, David. I love it.
Somebody the only person I know that's like a Lego dude that I'm familiar with is the former Georgia Bulldogs field goal kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship.
We got to have him on.
Really?
He has his own Lego. He's like, he has his own Instagram account and he's like building Legos and stuff. It's like what he does to kind of unwind.
That's cool.
Well, Lego is the best way to unwind. And
Rodrigo Blankenship. That's the guy.
Rodrigo, call us.
He's a stud too, ain't he?
He was in the NFL for a little while and then he got cut. Yeah. He's not on a team now, but yeah, he was great when he played for Georgia.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know, Torrin says growing up that he had a friend with a cow and twice a week they'd get a 2-gallon jug of raw fresh milk. I just don't like that. Even though my dad had like his reasons for not drinking milk, I just never liked the taste of cow milk. So if someone turns me on to a good tasting cow milk, I'll try it.
Wendy, I'm dropping you a link in private chat. You got to do your job now because this is your platform. This is Instagram.
Hey, Axel.
Oh no,
that's awesome. Oh wait, he's on YouTube as well.
MTT's here in the bushes listening. Hi, MTT.
MTT.
Hi, everybody.
Crafting with MTT. Hi, everybody. And we see Shenny's here. We've had a lot of people come in. Torrin, did you guys see Torrin's here?
Yeah, I saw Torrin. Excellent. Thank you.
So Nick has a question. What is Skiff's opinion on Jules board, and what is his favorite part of it, and why is it Riz a la Malta? I don't know if I said
Riz a la Malta is definitely not my favorite. For those of you, Yule board is basically the Christmas table. Christmas table is suspiciously similar to the midsummer table, also very similar to the Easter table. It's basically the same food every time. And I think there's only one right answer to this. And the best thing on the Christmas table is 100% hands down this potato dish called Janssens. Janssens Frestelse, I think it's called. And it's a combination of like kind of match cut potatoes, cream, onions, and anchovies.
Oh, I have had that. That is good.
It's very
Wait,
good.
what now?
I've never
Say
tried
that
it. I
again,
should.
please?
You had me until the anchovies.
Potatoes, cream.
No, but honestly, the anchovies are like, I know most people think like, gross anchovies,
it'd be
but it's
strong.
really, it's actually just used as like
salt.
Like it's just used to flavor the dish. Like you'll start if you didn't know there were anchovies in it, if somebody didn't tell you, you wouldn't really
Like
know.
fish oil. Like when you
For the record,
okay.
For the record, if you guys ever cook with Worcestershire sauce, you're cooking
I
with
love
anchovies, whether you know that or not.
Yes.
A lot of things I
aren't
like.
there like 50 ingredients to Worcestershire sauce?
I didn't know that,
crazy.
Valhalla.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy.
But
it's got that umami flavor. Umagi, something like that.
Yeah, everybody loves to talk about umami now.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a thing. I had to look it up the other day.
Skiff, do you like Istaband?
Oh, the sausage?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Do you? Oh, it's disgusting. I hate it.
I love
hate
sausage.
It.
I think it's
my
fine.
wife's like favorite sausage. It's made with
What'd you say?
potatoes, but it tastes like eating sand.
I don't go out of my way to eat it. I mean, I usually eat like Italian sausage, like salsiccia or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
much better.
That's
The
the bomb.
Istaband, the potato. I don't know what the spice is in it, the seasoning or whatever. I'm not a fan.
I'm a little bit of a I like to cook. So when I go to a restaurant, I don't want to order something that I can cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of annoys me. Like if I go to a restaurant and it's like, if they want to sell me like sausage and potatoes for $20, I'm like, fuck you, bro. I can make that for like $5 at home. Like that's impress me. Make me something I don't know how to make.
This has become a thing in my like later years of life, right?
Yeah.
So if I go somewhere and I spend money and you give me prepared food that I could make better at home in my kitchen, like I've got a real problem with that. I can't.
Yeah, I'm out on that.
There's a trend of a chain of restaurants in the Metro Detroit area. I don't know if it's spread everywhere else. It's called
that sounds good.
God, I can't remember what it's called. But it's called Black Rock. And they serve you a raw steak in a hot black stone so you can cook it yourself.
Yeah.
And every time I go, I refuse. I say, no, you're going to cook it in back for me. You're going to season it all for me. You're going to bring it out because otherwise I can cook it at home.
Exactly.
It's called Black Rock.
You're going to make me pay steak prices for a steak I got to cook myself? Fuck you.
Exactly. That's my whole issue. I refuse
You're
to
out
go
of your
there
goddamn minds.
Look, we all bonded over that.
I am out on that. 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed. Excuse me for just a second. I'll be right back. Yeah.
Of course. My stepdad used to get so mad. We'd go, like, he would be like, my treat, we're all going out. And my parents had 6 kids together. So it was, probably a really expensive bill. And everyone would, of course, we're kids, right? We want to order the most expensive thing or whatever. And one day I said, Lynn, how come you don't ever order the steak? Because I've seen him at home and that homie loved a steak. And he goes, why would I buy something your mom cooks for free? Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah. Although I went, I spent 3 weeks in Sweden a couple years ago with my son, and it was over Christmas time. So we were having all this traditional Christmas food. And what I really wanted was just give me some Swedish meatballs and potatoes. And I ended up having to go to a restaurant and order it because it wasn't being made for me, but it was okay. It wasn't like the Swedish meatballs that I would eventually get made by my mother-in-law. But yeah, I agree. It's like, yeah, why go to a restaurant if just to get something? Like I like going to get Mexican food because I just don't really want to make it myself often.
Yeah.
And have to dice up all the pico and everything.
I think I did the same thing with like Thai food because there's so many Thai food places around in Stockholm.
Really?
Yeah, Thai food is like Thailand is like the place that Swedes like to go to in the wintertime.
Oh, okay.
When they have a break, when they have a winter break, because it's a cheap flight. Or the flight's kind of expensive, but it's always cheap to stay there, I think is the way it is. So for me, like that Thai food is that for me. I'm like, I'm not going to make Thai food, but I'll buy it.
Indian and
food,
Chinese is big, at least in southern Sweden. Which is funny because my in-laws will be like, oh, let's go out for a celebration, and we go to a Chinese restaurant.
But when I was a kid growing up, that was like a big deal to go to a Chinese restaurant. Like it was, but I think it's so much more provincial now. Like back in the day,
for me, it's takeout. at home. It's like, oh, we get some Chinese. We stop and pick it up on the way home from work.
But it wasn't that in the 70s when I was a little kid in the 70s. It wasn't that Chinese food was common in that you could find a Chinese restaurant, but they didn't have it wasn't like there wasn't a big takeout culture back then either. Like you didn't eat it at home, you ate at the restaurant.
So Skiff, like I was saying, my wife eventually wants us to move and live in Sweden for like 3-4 months out of the year. So I'm going to ask you, as an American transplanted to Sweden.
Yep.
Like, sell me on living in Sweden.
I
have a feeling this is going to be a hard question. I thought it was going to be a hard question.
Well, I think, you know what, like the idea that the way you framed it, the idea that you would live here for 3 months out of the year, that makes a lot of sense to me. And also like living down where your wife is from, I've been down there before. It's beautiful down there. It's a different, I don't think there's any better place to be in the world in the summer than to be in Sweden. I mean, you know how it is. It's beautiful here.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I would not recommend you move to that part of the world in the wintertime. Because especially down there, it doesn't usually get cold enough to snow down there. So it just rains.
Constant rain, yeah.
And it's miserable down there, I think.
Although strangely enough, we were looking this up earlier today because she was just packing to leave. And we were talking about when we would want to live there, what months. And the wettest month in Sweden apparently is August. And the driest month is April.
Mm-hmm.
But the warmest month is July. And so that made our options very odd because it rains a lot apparently in August. So we don't want to go in August. But I feel like every time I'm there usually I'm there in September and then I'm there in like December, January. It's always just sort of misty. It's just like it's constantly mist in the air in the winter in southern Sweden. And I don't know if I want to go there in the winter, live there in the winter.
I think if you came like in May and left in August, would be ideal because you're here at a time where it's just starting to get nice and you leave right before it starts to get shitty. To me, that would be the ideal scenario. For me, like if I could arrange my life where I only lived here, 3, 4, 5 months out of the year, I would do that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that when we make this Italian TV series, I'm hoping that I can buy a place down there.
In Italy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Researching that country too.
When do you think if it gets picked up, when do you think you'll be there shooting? Like what's your time frame? Like assuming it's picked up.
Well, considering how long it takes to write it, I think if we got a development deal to continue writing the rest of the episodes, that would take us anywhere from 6 to 9 months to write the rest of the scripts. And then about another 6 months just to kind of, prepare and get ready. 2 years.
Oh, well, I'll be in Italy in June, so I think I'll miss you.
It'll take a while. I mean, I could be there in June too, but I mean, it's like I was just there in July. I think I was there.
Oh wow!
How dare you not plan your entire life and life's work around David's potential vacation to Italy? How dare you, sir?
Some people have.
Speaking of writing, we had an author on probably a year ago now. And I asked him about character development and how you come up with characters. Because I'm a legal writer and I tried to write fiction and it turned out so dull and boring, like a legal brief would. But how do you go about character development when you're writing a script or anything like that? Do you start with the premise or where do you start?
Well, normally, I mean, when I come up with a new idea, it usually starts with some form of a premise. Like I usually start with a problem and like a really like bad but entertaining solution to that problem. Right? Like We Got This, for example.
Yeah.
Guy who has a tax problem who tries to solve it by cracking the most unsolvable murder case in Swedish history to get 50 million Swedish crowns. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of how my brain works. I'm currently working on a series idea about a guy who kidnaps a celebrity, and he wants the ransom money, but he's going to use the ransom money to invest in a real estate scheme, and when he gets the money back, he's going to pay her back all of the ransom money.
The celebrity he took, he's going to give her money?
Yeah, he's going to give all the ransom money back plus 10% interest.
It's just a loan.
He's an ethical kidnapper.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to do things with characters who have like really problematic ideas, but with the best of intentions, basically.
It's almost like an innocence to them, right?
Sure. And then from there, I usually start to get into the minutia of who they are. I start to kind of whip up different character traits and start to kind of imagine like who they are, how they got that way. I do a lot of work regarding characters' backstory. Like, I think most of us are who we are because of our backstory. And, you know, it might be the case that none of that backstory actually winds up in the script, but I know it's there. Like, I know why that person is there, or why that person is the way that they are. And generally, you have to kind of create a scenario where you have unique characters where when they're presented with the same conflict, maybe they go about solving that problem in a different way, which kind of helps you to figure out who they are as a person, so to speak.
Do you play
That's interesting because, you know,
games?
bad people are not just purely bad people. They never see themselves as bad people.
Like Wicked.
Like Wicked, or like the protagonist in this, where he wants to give the money back. He just needs a little loan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that idea. That's awesome.
Valhalla, I don't think you heard your question. I love that question.
Oh, sorry.
Do you play tabletop games?
Like what? What do you mean?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh no, I've never done that before.
Really?
I had a lot of
I feel
friends
like-
when I was in high school who did it, but I never got into it.
I feel like you would be amazing at tabletop games.
Because you can create
I've
a
never
character.
played
sheet.
him, and I think he'd be genius at it.
Because half the fun that for me, half the fun in tabletop games is creating the character and kind of getting into the role of that character, and I think you'd be phenomenal at it.
I think so too.
It sounds really cool. I just never really got into it for some reason. When I was in high school, and I had friends who did it. I don't know. When I was in high school, I was more into sports. I played soccer. I played football. Played a lot of different sports. So I didn't really care about stuff like that. But I'd probably be more interested in it now.
I'm sure.
Valhalla, are you done?
Yeah.
Build. Oh,
Ooh,
you
let's
didn't-
see it. Sorry,
Yeah, sure,
put you on the spot real fast.
Nice.
Aw, hi, Teddy Sue.
Pew-pews. It's very cool.
That's cool.
Oh,
I
broke
took
the
down
light
his
off.
gadgets and put on his little plates instead. I didn't want the gadgets out there. But that thing is cool. Yeah, it's very cool. It's rare that Valhalla and I are actually building the same set. This just happened by coincidence. Except for our one head-to-head stream where I dominated.
And David,
He didn't put it together correctly. That was the problem.
I did too, sir. I did too. All the colors are appropriate. Blue is the same as blue.
No.
and David,
know.
Valhalla has not yet listed his wish list on his community page on YouTube so that
I don't have one yet.
those of us who want to contribute can buy Lego sets for him. But David has. So if you go to David's homepage in this community tab, he has his Amazon wish list so that you can purchase a set for him to build on the Lego stream. And Skiff, that looks really cool.
That's awesome.
It's so random, but it functions. That's awesome.
It's so
I
cool.
dig it.
It's beautiful.
I
love it.
dig it.
I love that there's a wheel in the back and he's got logos.
Now that's substantially changed from your first build, or is that is that a second
This
build?
is a totally secondary build. This
Nice.
is just something that came together
I love it.
in the last few minutes.
I love
And Erin got you a Lego set. She said it'll be here on Monday, David.
Oh, nice. Thank you very much.
Did you get mine yet?
I haven't gotten anything yet. No, but
it said it was delivered on your back porch. You better check your porch.
Oh, it's at the office. So
okay, that makes me feel better. Okay, good. So
someone brought it in, I'm sure. Someone told me, actually, the other attorney in my office said that I got a package. They didn't tell me what it was.
It was like 2 days. It was a while. It was a few days ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just haven't been to the office. I've been slacking, working from the treehouse as it is. So,
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. I think that wraps up our Lego stream. Schick, so you have some stuff in production, but nothing else we can watch right now. Where's my thing?
Not yet. 2 years.
You guys got to check this out. We got this.
We got this. Please.
It's an awesome show, y'all. You're gonna love it. Trust me.
I got hooked with the first episode. So did Valhalla and Wendy as well. Actually, I got hooked with the. You'll see it at the end when we do the outro. But the whole I can speak Swedish, but I feel like it makes me sound dumb. Line.
That's good.
That was instantly like, all right, I like this guy. And then this is one of those not odd. We've had like 3 Lego streams in a row, but we're actually going to take a week off, and then we'll be back on October 5th with Farrell, not Housewife, will be joining us, and maybe a surprise crasher. We'll see how it goes. And then we've got, and then who's coming up next? Who am I'm blanking on? Ron Coleman. Ron Coleman. Oh, actually, this is interesting, Skiff, if you are interested. Ron Coleman is an attorney in New York. He represented a Korean band called the Slants. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they tried to register their name as a trademark, and the U.S. government said no because it's racist. And they're like, we're Korean, it's our name. And so he ended up filing suit, and it wound up going all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, yeah, no, you can't deny a trademark name because you claim that it's racist. So Ron Coleman will be on our show on the.
I'm super excited for that one.
Something like that, yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're doing every other week. We're back to our normal schedule where we've got every other week.
Yeah. So, but Skiff, thank you very much for joining us. This has been awesome. This has been like ever since I watched your show the first time. This has been a goal of mine. So I'm very happy you could join us.
Thanks for having me. This has been a blast.
Oh my god,
awesome.
I had so much fun.
Is there any final parting words you'd like to leave with chat?
No
pressure.
Just enjoy yourselves. Do your thing. Build Legos, drink beer, or whatever else you like to do. You know what I mean? Like, just go be yourself. That's the only advice I could give to the world.
Yeah.
That's perfect advice. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Love y'all.
I'm gonna buy Legos again because this was so fun.
No one told me this was a race.
Dude, it's not a race.
No. Oh yeah. Now. Oh,
it got interesting. Being interviewed and trying to do Lego at the same time, harder than it seems.
I'm so hyped and focused on this thing.
It's hard to concentrate. Steve, what are you looking at? You are really intently looking at something.
I dropped the piece and I can't find it.
But I hadn't built Legos since I was a youngin', and I don't know exactly what I'm doing.
Having the problem with this one here.
No. We're gonna be here till 2 a.m.
Outstanding.
I'm actually enjoying a little bit of wine while we do this because it felt inappropriate to not have libations.
Look at this. It's kind of, I don't know what this was from.
I had a great freaking time. I chose a Lego set that was like, don't do the flowers, guys. Don't do the flowers.
Obviously, I'm the problem because I keep making the same bad decisions.
It's a great guest to have on too. In the beginning, he was kind of like, as we all were in the beginning, how should we act and stuff like that. Now he's such a fun guy to be around.
Like, when Lego had those base plates they started doing for the castles and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Right around the 90s, and they had I looked up how much those sets.
That thing's worth like $450 now.
Like before, when I've done content generally, it's like quite hard to kind of get everything you need quite quickly. But having somebody who understands how to like almost trawl the internet, just really lifts things up.
So I do bonsai. I collect bonsai trees, and these trees aren't it. they're wrong. These trees they have bad form.
Y'all just still want me to finish this owl effort, do you?
The point of the show is to build while you're being interviewed.
Look, John had to have his clothes off real quick, all right?
And then he said something about like a tramp stamp or something, and the girls were like, "Hey, where is that? What's this all about? I'll show you mine if you show me yours." And I'm like, "Whoa, this is not that type of stream."
What about this? 500 crowns. Is that for real?
Hur länge har du bott I Sverige?
Too long.
Och du talar ingen svenska?
Well, I can if I have to, but I just feel like it makes me sound kind of stupid.
Du låter ta mig fan ännu dummare på engelska.